Chapter 57. Don't leave anyone alive. You want to kill us all? Huang Meifei was terrified. Her pretty face instantly turned pale. Trouble started with Su Shaoling. Huang Meifei had never thought she would encounter such a calamity. Wan Yong was vicious and merciless, running amok without fear. If he said he would do it, then he would do it. He wanted to kill everyone on the boat. No, I don't want to die. Young Master Wan, please spare me. Young Master Wan, please spare me. The others were all scared, silly, horrified, and pleading. Many of them directly knelt down and kowtowed to Wan Yong nonstop. Shen Lian sighed. Looking at these people kneeling and begging for mercy, he was speechless. He thought, Wan Yong is obsessed with Su Shaowan, who looks like his stepmother, and wants to defile her. Such a filthy thing makes one's hair stand on end. Once this news spreads, Wan San and Lu Rui will lose all face. How will they face others in the future? How could such a scandal be known by outsiders and spread? Those who know will all die. From the moment Wan Yong boarded the boat, he had already planned to kill everyone on the boat. What's the use of begging for mercy? The great Tao is simple, looking at the essence through the appearance. Through the relationship between the appearance and the appearance, you can find the law of the development of things and thus predict the future. Sigh, such a simple thing, yet you can't see through it. Even if you count out 10,000 times, it won't change anything. Shen Lian couldn't help but glance at Wan Yong. Wan San's son does things without any scruples, killing people like flies. He is very similar to those aristocratic children. Could it be that Wan San's family is also an aristocratic family? Wan San is only a merchant on the surface, but he can build a goo garden and amass endless wealth. He is the richest man in the north, and no one can shake his position. His background is definitely not simple. This might be a good opportunity for me. Shen Lian thought, then looked at the dead and Yun Han, speechless. This guy was a bronze rank 1 Gu master, but he was so weak, too trashy. Even if he had a battle strength of 5 dregs, he wouldn't be in such a tragic state. No, this guy should still be a white level. He's just bragging. At this moment, the black vortex that enveloped in Yun Han's body gathered toward the center and turned into a grain-sized ball of pure black disaster power. In a flash, it flew toward Shen Lian and entered between his eyebrows, bewitching the descent of human calamity. Obtained 300 bewitchment points. A strange voice sounded in Shen Lian's mind, and he couldn't help but smile. And Yun Han, although you are trash, your death still has some value. Looking up, there was an even larger black vortex brewing intensely. It enveloped all the people on the ship. Killing intent surged, as if doomsday had arrived. A bunch of animals. Wan Yong grinned, his expression extremely indifferent. He ignored those begging for mercy, flicked his sleeve, and walked towards the wooden plank between the two boats. A strong retainer followed behind him, holding down Su Shaoling. The other retainers were full of killing intent, staring at Huang Meifei and the others, raising their swords and sabers. They were in imminent danger between life and death. Right at this moment, sigh. Actually, I didn't want to be exposed so quickly. Shen Lian sighed softly, pulling out his sword from its sheath. A sword light flashed, and heaven and earth lost their color. Splash! The sound of water splashing could be heard. The wooden plank between the two boats suddenly broke and fell into the river. Wan Yong's footsteps stopped, and he was stunned. He looked and saw that the wooden plank leading to the iron-armored ship had actually fallen. Almost at the next moment, he felt an inexplicable coldness on his neck. A cold sword edge was placed horizontally on Wan Yong's neck. Shen Lian smiled faintly and grabbed Wan Yong's neck and with a slight twist, pressed him to the ground. Young master, those retainers were extremely stunned, and their faces turned pale with fright. Impudent, let go of young master. The retainer closest to him pushed away Su Shaoling and rushed over, fiercely slapping at Shen Lian's right arm that was holding the sword. This palm had some skill, combining hardness and gentleness, and the fierce strength was wrapped in layers of soft and gentle strength. When arrived in front of Shen Lian, the palms suddenly split into three. The three palm shadows were illusory, and yin and yang intertwined, making it difficult to distinguish which one was real. Good. Shun Lian laughed loudly, and with his eyes squinted, he also sent out a palm. As his palm moved forward, it suddenly split into three and met the three palm shadows. That retainer had an expression as if he had seen a ghost. This shadow split palm was his family's ultimate skill, and he was the only inheritor in the world. His palm was like a dragon, changing 3 times, making it difficult to distinguish the real from the fake. Even those top-notch martial masters in the martial arts world, and even Goom masters with special abilities, were unable to discern the trajectory of his attack in an instant. Many experts had suffered losses under his palm, but were unable to do anything about it. Who was this person, and why did he also know the shadow split palm? A moment later, the 2 palms collided. Bang! At the moment of contact, the retainer sensed something, and his hair stood on end, and his scalp went numb. The terrifying strength caused his whole body to tremble. His whole body was swept away by the majestic strength, and the bones in his palms were crushed, and even his entire arm was broken. Accompanied by a miserable cry, the retainer was also sent flying. He raised his head and spat out a high arc of blood. The retainer fell 7 to 8 meters away. He was not dead, but half dead. He struggled to raise his head and looked at Shun Lian. You, how do you know the shadow split palm? If he did not figure this out, he would not die in peace. Oh, so this move is called the shadow split palm. Shun Lian laughed and replied magnanimously, I am a martial arts genius, and I can learn any martial arts move with one look. I can even draw inferences about other moves and surpass my master. Actually, when you used this move, there was a small problem with the strength of your waist. Was your waist injured before? The retainer was tongue-tied and spat out a big mouthful of blood and fainted. He did not know that after the Grandmaster Gu evolved to the silver level, it had a special effect called Grandmaster of a Generation. Just like what Shun Lian said, any martial arts in front of him, as long as he saw half a move, he could instantly learn and use it, and the power would be even stronger. After all, that was the counterattack of a Grandmaster of a Generation. Did I see wrongly? Brother Denai was defeated in one move, and he was defeated by his family's secret art. The other retainers looked at each other and were extremely shocked. As Denai fainted, all their emotions turned into fear, and they shuddered. Let me go, I told you to let me go. Wan Yong was pressed to the ground, and his face was on the ground. This was something that had never happened before, and one could imagine the anger in his heart. No matter who you are dead. I will tear you into pieces, and your family. I will kill them all. You are a prisoner, yet you still dare to speak such arrogant words. So you are just a spoiled idiot. Shun Lian sneered and pressed the wind-chasing sword on Wan Yong's neck, shouting, Tell your men to jump off the boat. Wan Yong's eyes were about to split open, and he roared, Kill him! Quickly kill him for me! Quickly! Before he finished speaking, he stopped abruptly. The wind-chasing sword was lightly pressed, and the edge of the sword pierced into his flesh. Wan Yong only felt a chill on his neck, and then a warm liquid flowed out, followed by pain. This made him feel terrified. See, you will also bleed, and you will also die. So, if you dare to be arrogant again, I will make you regret being born into this world. Shun Lian was like a demon looking down from above. I will give you one last chance. Tell your men to jump off the boat immediately right now. Shun Lian was incomparably domineering, and there was no room for doubt. Wan Yong became more and more afraid. This person was not joking. He gave in faster than anyone expected, and he shouted, All of you, jump off the boat. The retainers looked at each other, and one of them took 2 steps forward, cupped his hands, and said, Brother, our young master is Wan San's son. You should know the consequences of hurting him, and I hope you will not do something too late to regret. After saying that, he was the first to jump into the river, and the others followed, splashing into the water for a while. Shun Lian looked at Jiang Huaihua and said, Go get a rope and tie Wan Yong up. Aye. Jiang Huaihua did not dare, and shook his head like a rattledrum. Seeing this, Wan Yong laughed and said, "Doesn't dare. If he touches a hair of mine, his whole family will be buried with him." Shun Lian was speechless, and he lifted Wan Yong up and slapped him, raising his face high. "From now on, without my permission, if you dare to say a word, I will pull out one of your teeth." Wan Yong's expression was extremely gloomy, and he only stared at Shun Lian and kept his mouth shut. "Brother Shun, I will go get the rope." At this time, a timid voice was heard. Su Xiaoling's eyes were filled with tears, but he looked at Shun Lian with a face full of admiration. "You are courting death." Wan Yong roared fiercely. Bang! Chapter 58. All his teeth were broken at the base. It was so painful. Wan Yong covered his mouth and fell to the ground. He was in so much pain that he started crying. He looked at the teeth on the deck. There were 5 of them. He felt a bit aggrieved. "Didn't you say 1 tooth for each word?" "I only said 3 words." Shun Lian smiled. His smile was scarier than the devil's. "You talk a lot. I hope you have a lot of teeth, too." "Woo-woo." Wan Yong shook his head decisively. He covered his mouth tightly and kept quiet out of fear. This scene was like a meteor crashing to the ground. It was so visually shocking that everyone was shocked. From the moment Shun Lian cut the plank, to the moment he caught the leader, and then to the moment he forced the entourage to retreat, it all happened within a minute. While everyone was still in a state of extreme fear and waiting for death, Shun Lian and his entourage got rid of Wan Yong and his entourage quickly. The arrogant Wan Yong was beaten like a dog. That was Wan Sanyi's son. No one had ever seen him in such a sorry state. It was so satisfying to see him like this. "Brother Shun, what should we do next?" Hua Meifei walked over. His eyes were shining and his heart was pounding. He looked at Shun Lian with an expression that said, "Whatever you say." Shun Lian glanced at the iron-armored ship and said, "Turn the ship around. We'll go back and speed up. We'll shake off the iron-armored ship. When we reach the shore, we'll immediately inform the government office that we've encountered robbers and captured their leader." Hua Meifei looked at Wan Yong. He seemed to understand something. He nodded heavily and left in a hurry. At this moment, Su Xiaoling excitedly came with a thick rope. He handed it to Shun Lian excitedly. A strange emotion was reflected in his eyes. Shun Lian dragged Wan Yong up and tied him up. While tying up Wan Yong, Shun Lian suddenly noticed a detail. Where Wan Yong had fallen, there was a small porcelain bottle with the outline of a jade gourd. It had been smashed, and a clear liquid flowed out and quickly evaporated. A slightly green, odorless gas diffused in the air. A strange smile appeared on Wan Yong's face. "What's in this small porcelain bottle?" Shun Lian's heart trembled slightly. He grabbed Wan Yong's neck, his eyes as fierce as a tiger's and as majestic as a mountain. His heart thumped violently, and the faint roar of a dragon reverberated in the air, forming an immense pressure of divine might. Wan Yong's hair stood on end. He felt as if all the blood in his body was flowing backward. The air was clearly around him, but he couldn't breathe smoothly. It was extremely uncomfortable, and his face gradually turned purple. You'll know what it is soon." Wan Yong's face gradually twisted, and his eyes full of fear flashed with a cold light of resentment. Shun Lian squinted slightly, thinking, Wan Yong is right here. He can't release poison or something like that. What could it be? Oh, why is there fog? Suddenly, Jiang Huaihua exclaimed. In just a few breaths, dense fog rose from the surface of the river. It gradually thickened, and the visibility dropped rapidly. After a while, they could only see around 3 or 4 meters away. Even the huge iron-armored ships that were parallel to them only left a vague shadow. The black swirl above their heads rapidly expanded to 10 times its original size, and it was still expanding. The pitch-black vortex slowly sank down, like a black hole, as if it wanted to devour everyone's flesh and blood without leaving anything behind. Shun Lian looked at the thick fog around them and the black swirl above their heads. His face quickly darkened. Splash! Bang! Something broke out of the water and hit the hull of the ship. Shun Lian quickly came to the side of the ship and looked down. The fog was so thick that he couldn't see anything clearly in the water. He could only see that the oars were still moving. At some point, one of the oars suddenly flew out, as if it had been pulled away by something in the river. "Get the torches!" Shun Lian shouted. At this moment, Shun Lian was the backbone of the group. At his command, everyone quickly took action. Not long after, more than 20 torches and oil lamps were ready. Shun Lian asked everyone to place the torches around the hull, and the oil lamps were distributed on the deck. The flames dispersed the fog, and the deck could finally be seen clearly. He took an oil lamp, tied the handle with a rope, and lowered the ship until it was close to the surface of the river. The moment the light pierced through the fog, Shun Lian saw something, and his pupils couldn't help but shrink. There were many black shadows in the water, swimming around the ship. With a splash, a black fish broke out of the water. The black fish was almost 2 meters long, bigger than a person. It had sharp fangs, and it pounced on the mahogany hull, biting off a piece of wood. It was only then that Shun Lian could see clearly that the ship was surrounded by these gigantic black fishes. They were biting and tearing the ship's hull apart. At the same time, the oars were being pulled away one by one. Not far away, there seemed to be something terrifying lurking in the water. "Big Brother Shun, it's not good." Hua Meifei anxiously ran back, her face full of horror. The boatman's oars were taken away by something in the water. "I saw it." Shun Lian pressed her hand to calm her down. "Gather everyone in the turret." Before he finished speaking, there was a clang. The oil lamp was knocked over by the fish's tail, and the flames suddenly lit up and then went out. Then, whoosh, a loud splashing sound was heard, followed by a blood-curdling scream. Shun Lian turned around and saw a huge black fish more than 2 meters long jump onto the deck, biting a girl's left leg with its fangs. With a shake of its tail, it jumped up again and dragged the girl into the water. The world was dead silent. "Ah!" Everyone screamed in horror a few seconds later. Hua Meifei and Su Shaoling were so scared that their faces turned pale. They subconsciously grabbed Shun Lian's clothes and leaned against him. Even Zhang Huaihua came close and hugged Shun Lian's thigh. "Shut up." Shun Lian was speechless. He shouted, "Everyone, take refuge in the turret immediately." Everyone came back to their senses and rushed into the turret. Only Shun Lian and Wan Yong were left on the deck. "Wan Yong, I didn't expect you to attract a demon." Shun Lian grinned and looked at him coldly. Wan Yong laughed sinisterly. "You're dead. Everyone on this ship will die." "Oh, did you forget that you're also on this ship? I won't be here anymore." "Ha ha!" Wan Yong laughed maniacally. Suddenly, his body burst out with a dazzling light. The light lingered around his body, forming a huge, oval-shaped light film that covered him. In the next moment, Wan Yong suddenly disappeared from the spot. "Teleportation goo!" Shun Lian was shocked. He couldn't stop him in time and could only watch as Wan Yong teleported away. "Wan Yong is also a goo master?" "No, he was restrained by me. From start to finish, I didn't feel any primeval essence flowing in his body. He's not a goo master. Someone teleported him away. But here, there was no one else except Shun Lian. How was Wan Yong teleported away, and by whom? Chapter 59. But before Shun Lian could think any further, he heard a splash. A 2-meter-long black fish broke out of the water and jumped high into the air, creating a large splash as it rushed to the deck. The black fish bared its fangs and pounced at him, bringing with it a pungent smell of blood. Shun Lian narrowed his eyes slightly. His sword flashed and drew a mysterious trajectory in the air. The black fish slid across the deck and passed by Shun Lian, crashing into the other side of the ship. Immediately, a large hole appeared on the fish's stomach, and its internal organs fell out. The black fish did not die immediately. It stubbornly struggled a few times before falling off the ship. Walala, the sound of water surged in the river. After this black fish fell into the water, the smell of blood attracted the other black fish to attack it. They fought to tear it apart, and it was quickly divided and eaten. Cannibalism was truly savage. "Is that all?" Shun Lian was somewhat disappointed. Compared to the mandrill, these black fish did not seem to be true monsters. They were just larger and more savage than ordinary river fish. He did not even need to use the power of the goo. He could easily deal with them with his powerful body. In particular, these black fish were not weak at all. They were 2 meters long and weighed over 200 kilograms. The speed at which they jumped out of the water was extremely ferocious, and the impact was fierce. Their fangs were also abnormally sharp. Being bitten by them would cause serious injuries. Even being hit by them was enough to cause a fishing boat to flip over. If they were on land, they would have the physique of a black bull and the personality of a hungry wolf. Ordinary people would not be their match. The fishermen on the Wei River all knew that these black fish were extremely savage and aggressive. They usually lived in the deep waters and would sometimes hunt in the submerged layer. If they encountered them, they would quickly row the boat and escape. If they were too late, they would become fish food and not even their bones would be left. Moreover, the black fish had the advantage in numbers. Moments later, another black fish pounced towards him. Shun Lian calmly turned his body sideways, and the black fish slid past him. He raised his wind-chasing sword high up and slashed it down with a brilliant stroke. Puff! The sword slashed down as easily as cutting vegetables. The fish's head instantly separated from its body and was cut in two. Instant kill. Shun Lian leisurely walked over and kicked the fish's head and body off the boat. Immediately, there was a commotion in the water. Almost at the next moment, 2 black fish pounced from the 2 sides of the boat. Shun Lian glanced at it from the corner of his eye and kept his sword back into its scabbard. Suddenly, he dashed towards one of the black fishes and went behind it. He grabbed the fish's tail, swung it up, and threw it towards the black fish. A muffled sound rang out. The 2 black fishes came into close contact with each other. The huge impact shattered the fishes' skulls, and they tumbled off the boat. About 3 miles away, on the iron-armored ship, a dozen squires were kneeling on the deck, soaking wet. Their heads were lowered, and their faces were pale. A bunch of useless things. You actually watched as this young master was captured. What use do I have for you? Die, all of you. Atone for your sins. The one who was shouting was Wan Yong, who had disappeared from Shun Lian's sight. But he stopped after shouting a few sentences. It was not that he had calmed down, but that his toothache was too severe and he could not continue shouting. He had to use a handkerchief to cover his mouth. One of the retainers sighed and cupped his hands. Young master, it is not that we are not working hard, but the opponent's martial arts are too high. If that person had been ruthless, I'm afraid none of us would have survived. Wan Yong was furious and kicked him away. He took away the blood-stained handkerchief and scolded. Trash! You live for me to die at any time. Do you understand? The retainer did not dodge and took the kick. He knew this person was angry and quickly changed the topic, asking curiously, how did young master escape? Another retainer was also surprised. Young master returned to the iron-armored ship before us. How did you do it? Wan Yong snickered and pointed at the jade bracelet on his wrist. Do you know what this is? This treasure is called a teleportation bead. It was made by a spatial-type goo master and can teleport people to a specific location within a 10-li radius. The so-called specific locations are the places you have been to before. When you encounter danger, you just need to crush the teleportation bead and think of a place you have been to before, and the teleportation power will send you there. What a treasure! Young master is so lucky. The retainers were all envious and flattered him. Some even asked where the teleportation bead could be sold. Wan Yong scoffed. Idiot! You think you can buy it with money? The teleportation bead is priceless. One bead is at least 10 million taels. Even I, who borrowed my father's face, only got 2. Saying so, Wan Yong's heart was filled with hatred. That unknown brat had beaten him up and made him lose a teleportation bead. If he did not take revenge, his anger would not be appeased, and he would not be able to avenge himself. Wan Yong stared at the fog in front of him, his eyes almost spewing fire. Move the ship closer. I want to see that brat get dismembered by the chelating demon. A certain retainer's expression changed, and he said worriedly, Young master, you must not. The chelating demon is causing trouble in this area and has great ability. If it goes berserk, I'm afraid it will even attack us. Wan Yong glanced at him with a cold gaze. That retainer shuddered and immediately shut up. The chelating demon has great intelligence. It is not a wild beast like you think it is. It is much smarter than humans. Moreover, the chelating demon and Wan clan have an agreement. It has never attacked Wan clan's merchant ships for decades. You can relax and drive the ship over. Nothing will happen. Hearing Wan Yong's words, the others could not say anything and could only drive the iron-armored ship closer. A moment later, the two ships were 50 meters away, and they could already see the painting ship illuminated by the fire. Wan Yong squinted for a while and waved his hand. "I can't see clearly. Move closer." The iron-armored ship moved forward another 30 meters, and with a distance of 20 meters, they could vaguely see the scene on the deck. But when they saw what was happening on the deck, everyone turned silent with a stupefied expression. This. Wan Yong's eyes opened wide in disbelief. "Is that Bradigo Master?" Wan Yong's expression was as if he had just woken up and asked around. "Doesn't look like it. He did not use any ability and is only using his body to fight. What great strength! He actually threw the black fish away. He actually punched through the black fish's head. A certain retainer was stupefied and tongue-tied. His expression was as if he had seen a monster. "Enough!" Wan Yong was impatient and roared. "You actually bullshit! Other than saying actually, what else can you say?" Suddenly, there was a huge splash not far away, like a fountain rising up. Wan Yong was overjoyed and laughed loudly, shouting, "The chelating demon is here! The chelating demon is here! Let's see how this brat dies." The turbid waves surged and crashed onto the painting ship, causing the entire ship to sway. The dark fishes suddenly stopped their attacks and scattered in all directions. Shun Lian raised his head and his gaze flashed. He saw that in the depths of the fog, there was a huge figure slowly rising. Before he could see the full appearance of the demon, something suddenly broke out of the fog and smashed towards him. Shun Lian's pupils shrunk. That was a calicere, shaped like the front calicere of a crayfish. It was close to 10 meters long and was copper red in color. When the calicere were opened, the width in the middle was more than 1 meter, like 2 sharp pillars. There was a loud bang. The calicere smashed into the bow of the ship and directly smashed through the deck, leaving a huge hole when it was pulled out. The painting ship shook. Next, the calicere swept across and hit the turret, scraping off the triangular top of the turret. "Ah!" The people in the turret screamed and fled in panic. In the panic, some people directly jumped into the water, but they did not know that there was a vicious black fish waiting for them in the water. "This is a real demon?" Shun Lian clicked his tongue, feeling an indescribable excitement, as if he had been longing for a battle to his heart's content. "Not bad. You are much more daring than that, Shao. I have already endured for a long time. I will use you as an example." Swoosh! Shun Lian unsheathed his sword, and the primeval essence in the Grandmaster Gu's aperture surged out crazily, wrapping around the chasing wind sword. The silver-white sword's body shone with a cold light. When the calicere swept over again, Shun Lian jumped up and slashed down with his sword. A sword mark remained in the air and did not dissipate for a long time. The incomparably sharp sword edge accurately cut at the joint of the calicere and the calicere. The calicere's outer shell was as hard as iron, but the joint here was not as hard. It was the weak point. Only to hear a crisp cracking sound from the outer shell, the sword edge was slightly delayed and unobstructed, directly cutting down. Chapter 60. The sword light was still shining brightly. After Shun Lian cut off the crab pincer, his chasing wind sword crisscrossed and turned into a meat grinder, crazily chopping at the limbs behind the pincer. The sword marks left behind in the air were dense, like rays of light dancing in the air. In the blink of an eye, 5 to 6 meter long limbs were cut off like hair scissors. The attack was so fast, it was too much for the eyes to take in. The whole world seemed to be frozen. The huge shadow, shrouded in the thick fog, seemed to be fixed. It did not move for a long time, allowing Shun Lian to chop at it. Wan Yong's scalp went numb. "What's wrong with the Shalan demon? Its shell is indestructible. Even mechanical crossbow cannot break it. Even if that kid has a treasure sword that can break the Chelan demon's shell, the Chelan demon should be able to dodge. One of the retainers heard this and said in shock, "Young master, it is not that the Chelan demon's shell is not good. It is that person is too strong. It is not that the Chelan demon does not dodge. It is that the Chelan demon cannot dodge that person's attack." Another retainer was also incomparably shocked, exclaiming, "His sword technique is too sharp, as fast as lightning, like a storm, majestic and unstoppable." The Chelan demon's body is big. Its movement speed is relatively slow. It cannot react at all. "You are saying that kid is stronger than the Chelan demon?" Wan Yong's hair stood on end. His expression was ugly, as if he had eaten a fly. The retainers were silent. Seeing was believing. Wan Yong could not help but be greatly shocked, exclaiming, "Who is this kid?" One of the retainers clicked his tongue. "The Chelan demon's shell has already been broken. Its original form does not have any advantage. It can only transform into form and use Gu to fight. It might have a chance to win." Wan Yong heard this and thought for a while, saying excitedly, "You are right. The Chelan demon's water arrow Gu can shoot tens of thousands of arrows. It is extremely powerful. It can kill on the river. It can even pierce through iron-armored ships. No one is its opponent." While speaking, the thick fog violently rolled. The huge shadow flashed and disappeared. Shun Lian frowned slightly. Suddenly, his eyes focused as he saw a figure appear on the deck. That ghostly figure was shrouded in the mist and couldn't be seen clearly. However, one could vaguely see that it was a human silhouette. It was nearly 3 meters tall and gave off a huge sense of oppression. "Ha ha, look, the Chelan demon has indeed transformed." Seeing this scene, Wan Yong cheered. "That kid is dead for sure this time." The retainers blushed with shame. Demons and humans were irreconcilable. Logically speaking, they should be cheering for the Shun Lian. But now, they had to encourage the demons. Their feelings were a bit complicated. A certain retainer sighed. "The Gue Yao's cultivation is still shallow. It cannot transform completely. This will greatly limit the water arrow Gu's power. It is hard to say who will win." "That's right. Only a demon that has completely transformed can be like us humans, wantonly activating the mystical power of Gu. The current Gu Master's path of Gu Masters is still far from it." Another retainer nodded, agreeing. "In this world, there are countless races, but only humans have the closest affinity with Gu. If other races want to raise Gu, refine Gu, or use Gu, they must first transform into human form. This is the greatest advantage of humans." "That's right. We have to thank the great Rinzhu for this. When Rinzhu created the human race, he gave the human race a unique advantage, allowing the human race to form a bond with Gu. Rinzhu is the first Gu master in history. Not only did he create the human race, he also taught the human race how to raise Gu, refine Gu, and use Gu, allowing the human race to have the power to protect themselves in this dangerous and unpredictable world. Rinzhu is too great." The retainers spoke one after another, the topic getting further and further away. Wan Yong was impatient, saying sternly, "Shut up. What Rinzhu? It is only a legend on the streets. You believe this kind of rumor." The retainers consciously shut up, not daring to argue. They all looked at the painting boat, nervously paying attention. The mist gradually dissipated. The Chelan demon finally revealed its human form. At first glance, it looked like a human, but in fact, it was very far from human. It was 3 meters tall, covered in a copper-red shell, covered in protruding bone spikes. Its eyes were protruding, the pupils were vertical, and there were also 2 curved teeth hanging at the corners of its mouth. The Chelan demon's hand was still in the shape of a pincer. Its right forearm was already crippled. Shun Lian looked at it seriously, his face full of curiosity. The Chelan demon suddenly spoke in human language. "You beast, you actually have the ability to cut off my arm. No wonder one clan wants to borrow my hand to get rid of you." The voice was hoarse and deep, but unusually smooth. Shun Lian could not help but raise his eyebrows, suppressing the surprise in his heart. his eyes reflecting a trace of coldness. "So you are colluding with Wan clan." The Shallan demon sneered. "Colluding? What a joke. Wan clan is just a beast that's sacrificed to our river monster clan for self-protection. What qualifications do they have to collude with me?" He raised his left arm and pointed at Shun Lian, his pincers opening and closing. "You and the people on this boat are the beasts they sacrificed to me." Shun Lian understood that the human forces in Ronghua City could not defeat the monster, so they took the initiative to sacrifice to the monster. Thinking of this, he sighed. No wonder ordinary people don't know the existence of demons at all. That's because the upper forces of the human race tried every means to cover it up, even deliberately concealing it. The purpose of doing this is to push some ordinary people into the bloody mouth of the monster at any time in exchange for their temporary safety. How ridiculous and weak this was. Shun Lian's murderous intent was surging. He pointed at the Shallan demon with the wind-chasing sword and grinned. "Come on, let's see who is the beast." The Shallan demon was extremely angry. He gritted his teeth and roared, "Beast, don't think you are so great just because you cut off my arm. Our monster clan's self-healing ability is very strong. The broken arm will grow back in 10 days or half a month." Before he finished his words, he was interrupted by a cold shout. "You talk too much nonsense." Shun Lian shot out like an arrow and attacked with his sword. Seeing this, the Shallan demon laughed strangely. "Water arrow goo? Water arrow." The Shallan demon did not make any movements, but the river water on the deck suddenly flew up and turned into a water arrow in the air, shooting towards the Shallan demon. Water arrow? Shun Lian's pupil shrunk. He did not dare to be careless and used the first move of raging wave sword style, pushing waves. At this time, Shun Lian was a bronze rank 10 Gu master, a grandmaster of his generation. His sword skills were exquisite and peerless. His primeval essence surged out and turned into sword chi waves that could be seen with the naked eye, forming a tidal wave. Swoosh! The tidal wave was ferocious and swallowed the incoming water arrow. What a powerful sword skill. The Shallan demon was astonished and did not dare to be careless anymore. He quickly waved his left arm and caused the river water below the ship to rise. In a flash, water arrows formed in the air and shot towards Shun Lian. At once, 50 to 60 water arrows shot towards him from the opposite side. There were also 10 water arrows that shot towards him from the top of his head in an arc Shun Lian did not dodge. He had already understood the power of the water arrows from the first contact. The Iron Jade Gu immediately became active. Light surged on the surface of his body, and a strange layer of light expanded on his skin. It was about 5 centimeters thick and looked like iron yet not iron, like jade yet not jade. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The water arrows shot towards him and hit Shun Lian's body. Good. Wan Yong was overjoyed and almost jumped up. The retainers nervously stretched their necks and looked into the distance without blinking. However, Shun Lian was like a whirlwind that charged through the concentrated water arrows. Some of the water arrows hit his body, while the others missed and landed on the deck, creating fist-sized holes in the deck. Shun Lian was extremely powerful and charged through. When he was 2 meters away from the Shallan demon, he suddenly shook his chasing wind sword and a mysterious sword flower appeared. The sword flower suddenly exploded in front of the Shallan demon's stunned gaze. Wan Yong and the rest seemed to have seen a firework exploding. It was gorgeous and beautiful. In a split second, a rain of bullets shot out from the sky. The rain of bullets was even bigger than before. The Shaoli flying dagger was also the same. The light was very threatening. Not only that, under Shun Lian's continuous hard work and comprehension, he added some rotation to the rain of bullets. This made the rain of bullets that shot in a straight line have an additional rotation force and a stronger penetrating force. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The Shallan demon had no time to dodge and was hit by the rain of bullets. After trembling, as if it had been electrocuted, countless holes appeared on its shell and red and white blood flowed out. The Shallan demon was terrified and turned around to jump into the river. "Where are you going?" Shunlian took a step forward. He was so fast that the distance of 2 meters was covered in the blink of an eye. The sword slashed at the Shalan demon's neck. The terrifying force hit the Shalan demon and made it fall to the ground. The shell on its neck rolled over and became a blur. Overflow rain sword technique. Shunlian did not show any mercy and once again shook out a sword flower. With a burst of puff, 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 the Shalan demon that fell on the deck trembled violently again. Its body was covered with wounds, and there was no intact shell on its body. Wait! The Shalan demon was terrified and wanted to say something. Go to hell. The chasing wind sword pointed down, and there was a red dot. It directly pierced through the Shalan demon's right eye. Shunlian pulled out his sword and slashed 7 or 8 times. The Shalan demon's head was chopped into pieces before he stopped. Gulp! Wan Yong swallowed his saliva. His whole body was cold, and he fell to the ground. His body was trembling. This man killed the Shalan demon. God too fierce. All the retainers were stunned and showed an expression as if they had seen a ghost. The Shalan demon that had run rampant in the Wei River for more than 150 years was killed just like that. Chapter 61. Young Master, Nu Kuan's iron-armored ship is here. Should we retreat? A sharp-eyed retainer saw the flag fluttering in the wind and quickly reminded Wan Yong. After all, Nu Kuan was the #1 gang in the north. This area of water had always been peaceful. If the Shalan demons suddenly came here to cause trouble, it would definitely raise suspicions. The commotion was not small, and Nu Kuan had indeed noticed it. If Nu Kuan found out that it was Wan Yong who summoned the Shalan demons, a conflict would be unavoidable. If such a disgraceful matter spread out, Wan Sanyu's face would be tarnished. Most importantly, Nu Kuan definitely had a goon master to suppress the situation, and Wan Sanyu knew his prodigal son too well. He was afraid that Wan Yong would cause some uncontrollable trouble, so he purposely did not arrange a goon master among the retainers. Once a conflict broke out, this side would not be a match for Nu Kuan. Let's go, let's go. Wan Yong was utterly defeated and replied weakly. Cold sweat poured down like rain, and his face was extremely pale, as if his soul had left his body. He was really frightened. The iron-armored ship slowly turned around at this moment. Young Master, there is a problem in the water area ahead. The boatman at the helm discovered something, and his expression suddenly became tense. He saw that the water in the middle of the river seemed to be boiling, bubbling and bubbling, and the fishy smell in the air became thicker, making people nauseous. Immediately after, there was a loud rumble. The boiling water suddenly exploded, and a thick water pillar rose high into the air. This scene was extremely similar to a water mine exploding at the bottom of the river, causing huge waves. The water pillar rose to a height of over 100 meters before falling down. Immediately, huge turbid waves surged on the river's surface, sweeping in all directions. The iron-armored ship Wan Yong was on was nearby, and it tilted violently from the impact of the huge waves. The people on the deck were caught off guard, and one by one, they rolled and fell into the river. Young Master, a retainer quickly grabbed a rope and tied it to the side of the ship, holding the rope with one hand and Wan Yong with the other. Whoosh! Almost in the next moment, the huge wave came crashing down ferociously, engulfing everyone's figures and also drowning out Wan Yong's ghostly wails and howls. A moment ago, after Shunlian killed the sea serpent demon, he let out a long breath and thought to himself, this demon shell is extremely hard, and it has the strength of 10,000 pounds. Its water attack is excellent. If this demon continues to stay in the water, I'm afraid I can't do anything to it. If the river demon destroyed the painting boat first, for example, sinking it from the bottom and waiting for everyone to fall into the water, then no matter how good the Shunlian's swimming skills were, he would not be its opponent and would be dead for sure. Actually, he didn't expect that the river demon would ascend to the deck and fight with him, allowing him to take advantage of the situation. In a flash, he killed the river demon and won the battle. Back then, choosing to refine dragon heart goo and strong root goo was the right choice. The demon's body is huge and its strength is astonishing. Without a strong physique, it is hard to win by relying only on the strength of the goo. After a round of fighting, Shun Lian had a deep understanding. Just as he was thinking about this, suddenly, the sea serpent demon twitched. It's not dead yet. Shun Lian jumped away and held his sword with rapt attention. The body of the sea serpent demon suddenly enlarged, and its human shape changed. It turned into a huge, shell-like creature, which was not the shape of any creature that Shun Lian knew of. Its body was too big, and it spread to the side of the ship. It slowly slid down into the river, and its white belly floated on the water. So after the demon dies, it will show its true form. Shun Lian curled his lips and suddenly thought of Journey to the West. The demon that was killed by the monkey would also show its true form. He could not help but smile, feeling like he was living in a legend. At this time, the black whirlpool that shrouded the sea serpent demon suddenly condensed and turned into a lump of calamity power, shooting into Shun Lian's forehead. Bewitching demon Calamity descends, obtained 3,000 bewitchment points. A wonderful voice appeared in Shun Lian's mind. He was so happy that his mouth was crooked and he started moaning. Demon Calamity, Calamity Power, and 3,000 bewitchment points. This was definitely a great harvest. Since Shun Lian subdued Wan Yong, he changed the life trajectory of everyone on the painting boat, which deeply stimulated Wan Yong and caused him to summon the river demon. In the end, the river demon died in his hands, ending the story perfectly. As soon as the river demon died, the thick fog quickly dispersed and became much thinner. Shun Lian focused his eyes and saw 2 iron-armored ships. One was moving away and the other was approaching. At this time, a towering water column exploded in the middle of the river. Terrifying waves swept over, almost overturning one of the iron-armored ships, and then hit the painting boat. Shun Lian moved quickly and hugged the mast with one arm. A wave of 7 to 8 meters high hit the painting boat, tilting it almost 70 degrees and pushing it hundreds of meters away. Ow! In the wave, the shadow of a giant python appeared. The python was so big that it was impossible to see its full appearance. With a sweep of its tail, huge waves rose again and again. Qilian River Demon, New Kuan is here. I won't let you stir up trouble. On the other iron-armored ship, a figure suddenly rose into the sky. That person had white hair and a beard. He stepped on the waves, and there was a bright silver light in his palm. When he was about to reach the wave, his palm suddenly pressed down. Thunder vermin? Heaven's punishment. The bearded elder roared like thunder. Kaboom! It was like a divine thunder from the 9 heavens had descended and coincidentally struck the giant python. The twisted electric light spread out, and the river water emitted black smoke. The giant python seemed to be in pain. Its body suddenly sank into the deep water, and the waves on the river became much smaller. The painting boat shook violently back and forth a few times before it stabilized. Shun Lian focused his eyes and saw a water bag on the river surface, pushing towards the painting boat quickly. Qilian, isn't the corpse of the sea demon enough for you to eat? If you dare to hurt the people on the painting boat, I will not rest until you die. The bearded elder stepped on the water surface and ran quickly, shouting angrily. However, compared to the water bag, he was obviously much slower and could not catch up. Kong Yu, if you have the ability, then try to stop me. This bastard dared to kill my river demon clan. I will take his life first. Then I will give you half a month to sacrifice his 3 clans to me. Otherwise, humph. The river demons in the Wei River will definitely attack Ronghua City and massacre the entire city. A terrifying scream came from the bottom of the water, making people shudder. As soon as he finished speaking, the water bag was less than 10 meters away from the painting boat. It could be seen that inside the water bag, there was a giant python head as big as a train. Its eyes were blood red, and it was fiercely crashing towards them. Kill me first, then sacrifice my 3 clans? Shun Lian was furious. He slashed with a wind-chasing sword, and the mast was broken from the bottom. Shun Lian's arms bulged and hugged the 10-meter-tall mast. He swung it diagonally and smashed it toward the water bag. "Oh my God!" the bearded elder exclaimed and was dumbfounded. With a boom, the mast fell and the high waves split to both sides. When the waves were gone, it could be seen that the mast had smashed on the python's head and made it sink down. "Good job." The bearded old man was shocked. "Awesome." He suddenly rushed over with bright, lightning brewing in his palm. The python's tail shook and a wave swept over. The bearded elder had to dodge. "Deputy leader, let me help you." The iron-armored ship moved forward quickly. A middle-aged woman was standing at the bow with a purple longbow in her hand. But when she pulled the bowstring, a light arrow turned from virtual to real and shot out towards the sky. It drew an arc and broke the surface of the river and disappeared into the water. Immediately, a muffled groan came from the bottom of the river. Then the river's surface returned to normal. Chapter 62. Are you a human or a demon? The bearded old man asked seriously. Shunlian was dazed. He sized up the bearded old man and smiled. "Of course I am a human. Don't I look like one?" "You don't," the bearded old man said resolutely and seriously. Shunlian was speechless. The bearded old man stroked his beard and slowly walked over with a curious expression. He pinched Shunlian's biceps and exclaimed in surprise. "I have never seen anyone who can lift a mast. You are the first. These muscles are really firm." Do you have a body fusion type goo?" "That can't be right. I have never heard of a body fusion type goo that can make a person so fierce." "Are you sure you are not a demon?" The bearded old man talked to himself and was immersed in his thoughts. Shunlian did not know whether to laugh or cry. "Senior is? Oh, I forgot to introduce myself." The bearded old man came back to his senses and awkwardly took 3 steps back and tidied his clothes. "Old man, Konyu, new Kuin's vice leader, greets little brother." Shunlian's pupils shrunk. He cupped his fists and replied, "Shunlian, from Shueling City, currently living in Ronghua City." "Shunlian?" Konyu thought carefully and confirmed that this was the first time he had heard of this name. He could not help but be puzzled. Thinking to himself, Shunlian is so strong, it is impossible for him to not have any fame. Shueling City seems to be a small city in the north. There are no families or sects there. Surname Shun. Is there a family with the surname Shun in Guyu country? Konyu's thoughts turned, and after a few seconds of silence, he suddenly smiled and asked, "Little brother Shunlian, how old are you? Who is your master?" 18. "I do not belong to any sects. I cultivate by myself." Shunlian answered honestly. Cough, cough. Konyu choked on a duck egg. He could not breathe properly. His old face turned red, and he showed an expression as if he had seen a ghost. "You're saying that you've trained yourself, and you're only 18 years old?" Konyu was dumbfounded. Looking at Shunlian, he was so emotional that even his beard was fluttering. Shunlian nodded. "Yes. What rank are you?" Shunlian thought to himself, "I have already exposed my strength earlier. There is no need to continue hiding it. I might as well reveal some of my trump cards. After all, my strength far surpasses those Gu masters of the same rank. I am bronze ranked level 10. Bronze? Level 10. Konyu was completely speechless. Looking at Shunlian, he seemed to have aged a lot all of a sudden, with a touch of envy and complexity in his eyes. "You really are a monster." After a long silence, Konyu looked up at the sky and heaved a long sigh. His face was filled with envy, jealousy, and hatred. His heart felt stifled. At this moment, New Kuin's iron-armored ship approached. The middle-aged woman who shot the arrow also jumped over. Konyu hurriedly waved his hand and said excitedly, "Elder Bien, quickly come over and meet this 18-year-old bronze-ranked level 10 monster." "What? 18 years old, bronze-ranked level 10. The middle-aged woman heard, and her expression changed. She stared at Shunlian and gasped. "Little brother, how many apertures have you opened?" "How many apertures? Are you asking how many apertures I have?" "Correct. 2 apertures. What rank are they?" "One is silver-ranked level 1, and the other is bronze-ranked level 10. "Silver." Konyu and the middle-aged woman screamed at the same time, their eyeballs almost popping out. 18 years old silver rank. This talent is simply old man is already 64 years old and only reached silver rank level 5 after working hard for his whole life. I am 48 years old and have been stuck at silver rank level 3 for more than 10 years. Kong Yu and the middle-aged woman sighed. They both felt that they had lived their whole lives in vain. Shun Lian, taking this opportunity, Shun Lian hurriedly asked, I have a few questions that I would like to ask. The monster that I killed and the giant python, what are their origins? Kong Yu was slightly stunned and said in surprise, You killed the sea serpent monster without knowing who he was? Shun Lian nodded. After a moment of silence, he decided to expose Wan Yong. Just like that, Wan Yong suddenly disappeared in front of me, and then the monster appeared. He explained the general situation. Wan Yong, Wan Sanyi's son. Kong Yu's face turned gloomy and sighed. Every family has its own difficulties. Wan Sanyi was smart all his life and earned a lot of money, but his son and daughter didn't live up to his expectations. One is more stupid than the other, and sooner or later, they will bring great trouble to his family. Then he suddenly understood. No wonder the sea serpent monster and Shi Lian appeared in this area at the same time. They were attracted by Wan Yong. Looking at the situation, Wan Yong only wanted to attract the sea serpent monster, but he also attracted the Qi Lian. After you killed the sea serpent monster, the Qi Lian couldn't hold back and came to snatch the sea serpent monster's body. Alas, after the Qi Lian swallowed the sea serpent monster, the monster's strength will increase greatly, and it will be even harder to deal with. Sea serpent monster, Qi Lian. This was the first time Shun Lian came into contact with the Wei River's river demons and remembered these names. Seeing this, Kong Yu slowly said, The river demons are divided into many tribes. The sea serpent monster belongs to the shell armor tribe. The Qi Lian belongs to the scale armor tribe. There are also the shell armor tribe, the Wu armor tribe, and so on. The shell armor tribe's shells are very hard, and if you can't break their shells, you can't do anything to them. But your sword might is too strong, and the sea serpent's shell armor can't defend against it. He had no choice but to transform and use the water arrow goo to fight with you. But he didn't expect your close combat ability to be too strong, and he couldn't even escape. Actually, if the sea serpent monster stayed in the river and didn't come out, no one would be able to do anything to him. But this time, the sea serpent monster must have underestimated you and was caught off guard by you. He probably died in grievance. What about the Qi Lian? Shun Lian naturally paid more attention to a demon that threatened to exterminate his 3 tribes, his eyes reflecting deep killing intent. Kong Yu stroked his beard. That Qi Lian guy is very cunning, 10,000 times more cunning than the sea serpent monster. He's been causing trouble for over 200 years and has harmed countless people. I have fought with him my whole life, but I have never been able to do anything to him. The middle-aged woman sighed and said, It's not that you can't beat him, but Red Viper has always been a demon in the water. When he's besieged, he'll escape through the water, leaving us helpless. Kong Yu waved his hand. Don't underestimate that Qi Lian guy. Even on land, when the demons go berserk, we have to pay a huge price to kill them. While speaking, Hua Meifei, Su Shaoling, Zhou Kai Shi, and the others who were hiding in the painting building walked out with injuries all over their bodies. Many of them were bleeding, and some had broken bones. Kong Yu glanced at them and instructed, Drag the painting boat back. Treat the heavily injured first. Yes, the middle-aged woman responded and jumped back to the iron-armored ship. She passed down the order, and the other side quickly got busy. Kong Yu suddenly pulled Shun Lian's hand and said enthusiastically, Little brother, you haven't stepped into the silver rank yet. Is it because of the restriction of your talent? Shun Lian nodded. Indeed. Kong Yu laughed. Our new Kuan has a talent goo that can help you ascend to the heavens. Come, I will bring you to receive your reward. Receive my reward. Shun Lian could not help but be overjoyed. He followed Kong Yu and jumped onto the iron-armored ship. After entering a room in the cabin, Kong Yu found a brocade box. There is a human flower goo in this brocade box. With your talent, it should be able to help you advance to the silver rank. Konyu then found a jade artifact that looked like a wine jug and handed it to Shun Lian. There's primordial water inside. It should be enough for you to replenish your primordial chi. Primordial water? You don't know? Primordial water. How should I explain it? We goo masters have primeval essence in our bodies. It is condensed from goo, and primordial water is the primeval essence that naturally exists. Naturally exists? Shun Lian was somewhat astonished. He had been in the goo garden for so many days, but had never heard of such a treasure in the world. Konyu thought for a while and said, "Do you know how talent goo is born? The environment where talent goo is born is in a natural primordial water river. And talent goo is a restricted resource in the goo master's path of advancement. It has always been tightly controlled by the clans and sections. Because of this, the primordial water river is a treasure that the clans and sects fight for. It is also the foundation of the clans and sections. It can be said that if there is a primordial water river, there must be a clan or sect there." So that's it. Shun Lian understood. Konyu patted his shoulder and said, "This room is for you. Refine the human flower goo first. I will go out and take a look." He smiled and left. Chapter 63. The moment the brocade box was opened, a bright light overflowed from the inside. Shun Lian squinted his eyes. What entered his eyes was a dazzling ice flower. Its whole body seemed to be carved out of orange jade, surging with a mysterious and powerful aura of life. Yin and Yang nourished the 5 colors. Water and fire refined the 3 flowers. This is the human flower goo. Shun Lian saw this treasure for the first time and was slightly moved. After observing for a while, he stretched out his hand, pretending to touch it, but in reality, he only used his palm to cover it. Life-twisting goo flashed out, circling around the human flower goo for a while before returning to his body. The whole process only took 2 to 3 seconds. No problem. This is the real human flower goo. Shun Lian heaved a sigh of relief, finally relaxing. His eyes shone brightly, but his heart was still calm. The human flower goo is so precious. Konyu gave it to me just like that. Is it really as simple as a reward? New Kuin gave out many mission points, and this sea demon was clearly on the list, so it was not strange for the killer to get some rewards from New Kuin. But, until now, Shun Lian still had many suspicions in his heart. Along the way, he knew that goo masters were all strange and unpredictable, so he had to be careful and not trust anyone easily. Just now, they were constantly probing my strength, and I purposely did not hide it, allowing them to continue asking. But they only asked about my rank and stopped there and did not ask me what goo I had. The core secret of a goo master's body was what goo they had. Once others knew about it, they would be able to counter it, and it would be very dangerous. Konyu and that middle-aged woman protected this bottom line, and their actions could be considered open and above board, leaving a good impression on Shun Lian. Moreover, with Shun Lian's strong intuition, he did not feel that they had any malicious intent towards him. Otherwise, he would not have followed Konyu to receive the reward. But Shun Lian had always been cautious and understood that he was in the martial world. Even if he encountered something good, he had to consider it carefully. A moment later, Shun Lian pondered over it carefully and couldn't find any fault with it. The opportunity was right in front of him, and if he didn't take it, it would be a crime. Wait until I reach the silver level. With my monstrous physique, even if Konyu has ulterior motives, I will be able to deal with you easily. After thinking about this, Shun Lian no longer hesitated. He pricked his finger with a silver needle and dripped his blood to feed the human flower goo. I've heard that the innate venomous insect was born for humans and is very easy to refine. Generally, it can be refined within 7 days. I wonder if it's true or not. Shun Lian was looking forward to it. Fresh blood dripped onto the human flower goo, and the human flower goo shook. Like the jade goo, it did not have any facial features, and its body directly absorbed the blood. Traces of blood seeped into the ice flower and soon dyed the human flower goo red. It was bright red and looked like a precious treasure. Unfortunately, after waiting for a while, there was no response. Without a choice, Shunlian could only secretly release the life-twisting goo again. As expected, with the help of the life-twisting goo, he succeeded immediately and used only 1 second to tame the human flower goo. Immediately, a gentle thought was transmitted into Shun Lian's mind, causing his brain to become active. Great, the refinement is a success. Shun Lian smiled happily and grabbed the human flower goo. In the next moment, the human flower goo melted on his palm like a snowflake and seeped into his skin. Shun Lian immediately shivered. He only felt a wave of cold air spreading in his body, spreading to his limbs and bones. So cold. After a while, frost formed on Shun Lian's eyebrows and his teeth chattered. His whole body felt like it was bathed in a storm of ice and frost, receiving some kind of mysterious stimulation. After an hour, that wave of cold air slowly subsided. Once the cold air subsided, Shun Lian's body started to heat up and sweat profusely. After a while, his back was drenched in sweat. At the same time, he noticed that some black substance was excreted from his pores. This is a bit like meridians and marrow cleansing. Shun Lian seemed to have understood something. His eyes flashed, and he immediately stood up, taking off his outer clothes, and started to exercise crazily, increasing his sweat. After an hour, Shun Lian's body smelled weird. Luckily, the room was equipped with clean cold water, so he took off his clothes and washed his body. Almost at the same time he finished bathing, a familiar feeling of hunger suddenly attacked him. Success! Shun Lian was overjoyed and quickly took the primeval water bottle. He did not know how much to drink, so he found a wine cup and poured half a cup of primeval water and drank it in 1 gulp. Immediately, like strong wine in his throat, he felt a burning sensation, and the surging natural primeval essence rampaged in his body. Silver-level Grandmaster Gu, an old monk meditating, exhaling the old and taking in the new, connecting the inside and outside. In his aperture, the green copper primeval essence was continuously compressed and condensed, gradually transforming into snow-silver primeval essence. The terrifying thing was, after 10% of the green copper primeval essence was compressed and condensed, only 1 drop of snow-silver primeval essence was obtained. After 6 to 8 hours, 100% of the green copper primeval essence was completely converted and only 10% of the snow-silver primeval essence was left. 10 to 1 condensed. Shun Lian clicked his tongue, his eyes blazing with fire. Shun Lian, Gu Master, Silver Level 1. Going back to several hours ago, after Konyu left, he went to the deck to enjoy the wind and pondered. Vice Leader, that middle-aged woman, who Konyu called Bien Chanyu, walked over and said, "That's Shun Lian. What do you think? There shouldn't be any problems, right? You think there's a problem with him?" Konyu said in surprise. Bien Chanyu's mouth twitched a few times and said, "A little guy with no reputation suddenly appeared out of nowhere and directly killed a Kelonian demon that so many people could not kill. No matter how I think about it, it is inconceivable." Konyu sighed. "Genius, this is a genius. You can only come across one by chance. After living for so long, the old man has finally met one." Bien Chanyu said worriedly. "Could he be a spy nurtured by other sects?" Konyu tapped his nose and laughed. "Don't forget, the old man has the dog nose goo. His nose is very sensitive." "Shun Lian, I have smelled him. He is very clean. Do you know, he doesn't even know who or what Yuan is." The old man guessed that Shun Lian was born a genius in martial arts. "Look at his body, he is like a monster. And the first goo he refined must be an intelligence-type martial path goo. Like this, when the conditions are right, he naturally advanced to his current realm." Bien Chanyu thought for a while and nodded. That is the only explanation. But after thinking for a while, he finally reacted and exclaimed, "Vice Leader, we cannot let go of such a talent. We have to recruit him quickly." Konyu showed a sly smile and said, "Just now, I took out all my assets and gave Shun Lian a human flower goo and a bottle of primeval water. This is half a year's salary." Bien Chanyu's expression changed. "Vice Leader, You didn't give it to him directly, right? Didn't you discuss the conditions first? What conditions? Just give him what he needs the most. A genius should be treated like a genius. Kong Yu waved his hand. Is this reliable? Bien Chan Yu had an expression of you are not reliable. What if he runs away after eating everything? Won't you cry yourself to death? Kong Yu was very confident. Shun Lian has just killed the Gue Yao and has a grudge with the Qi Lian. His family is in the north. And as long as the Qi Lian is not eliminated, he will feel uneasy. To deal with the Qi Lian, he can only join Nu Kuan. We can get the innate talent Gu and the primeval water for him. Watch carefully. Bien Chan Yu shook his head and hesitated. I hope so, but I feel that vice leader is overconfident. Kong Yu laughed. Even if you don't trust me, don't you trust my nose? Huff. Shun Lian's face bloomed with a smile. The human flower Gu that could not be bought with money before was obtained without any effort. Moreover, it came at the right time, allowing him to advance to the silver rank. Let me test the power of silver primeval essence. Shun Lian pulled out his chasing wind sword and activated a thread of snow silver primeval essence. With a slight shake of the sword, the tip of the sword drew a sword flower. Miraculously, the sword flower froze in the air and did not disperse. It was like a physical object that was printed out by a 3D printer. Sword intent form. Shun Lian's mind shook and his gaze flickered. In particular, sword will was indescribably wondrous. It was often a philosophy that was comprehended and could only be understood but not explained. For example, the sword will of the overflowing rain's swordsmanship strengthened the speed, the ferocity of the power, and the intensity of the divine power to the point of breaking through the horizon. The specific form of its manifestation was the rain of bullets, fast, fierce, and peerless. But in the end, the rain of bullets was only an illusory force and had not formed into a physical form, reaching the realm of miraculous creation. Until now, Shun Lian had finally succeeded in forming the sword intent. This way, my overflow rain sword can advance a step further. After the transformation, its divine might will be even stronger. Shun Lian's gaze shone as a vague sword intent slowly formed in his mind. A moment later, the iron-armored ship shook slightly and stopped, as if it had reached the shore. Shun Lian walked out of the room and happened to see Kong Yu and Bien Chan Yu walking over together. Little brother, we have arrived. Get ready to disembark. Kong Yu smiled and waved his hand. Shun Lian quickly cupped his hands and smiled. Senior, thank you for giving me the human flower Gu and primeval essence water. Oh, how is it? Have you advanced? Shun Lian released a thread of snow silver primeval essence. Kong Yu took a look and a joyful smile appeared on his face as he praised. Good, good, good. Bien Chan Yu's face was also filled with shock, a pleasantly surprised expression floating between her brows. This is the rest of the primeval essence water. Shun Lian had used a quarter of the primeval essence water to advance this time, so there was still a lot left in the bottle. Kong Yu pushed it back and said solemnly, This was given to you by the old man. How can you take it back? Nu Kuan has a lot of this stuff. Bien Chan Yu's mouth twitched when he heard this. Shun Lian was so astute that he immediately noticed it. Obviously, the primeval essence water was also a restricted resource. It was not easy to obtain. At this moment, if Shun Lian could not see what Kong Yu wanted to do, he would be a fool. Sure enough, after Kong Yu smiled, he suddenly changed the topic and said in a deep voice, Little brother, you have killed the sea demon, which means you have made a deadly enemy of the Shell Demon clan. You have also offended the Qi Lian. This guy is even more dangerous. Even though your family is far away in Snow Ridge City, if the demon is determined to kill you, you know the consequences. Shun Lian's face darkened slightly inside. I have already considered this matter. Kong Yu said, Is there anyone powerful in your family? Or are you related to someone powerful enough to deter the River Demon clan? No. Kong Yu sighed and finally revealed his thoughts. Little brother Shun Lian, I have a suggestion. I hope you can seriously consider it. Why don't you join Nu Kuan and use Nu Kuan's power to protect yourself and your family? Besides, With your talent and fighting strength, plus the recommendation of the old man and border elder Lao, you have a chance to get an elder seat and enjoy many benefits. For example, the human flower goo and the primeval water will be given to you in the form of salary every month. In New Kuin, only the 8 elders, 2 deputy leaders, and the leader, a total of 11 people, can get such treatment. Bien Chanyu was obviously shocked. He looked at Kong Yu with an expression that said, "You are really willing to spend a lot of money." But she thought again, a talent like Shun Lian could not be recruited without spending a lot of money. So she nodded and said with a smile, "As long as you are willing to join New Kuin, I promise you that I will do my best to help you get an elder seat." Chapter 64. Shun Lian had always wanted to step into the world of Gu Masters. Before he was strong enough, he kept a low profile and endured silently, never revealing his talents. But he had always been making preparations. Moreover, he already had a plan in his heart to form a connection with Wan San, Lu Rui, and Sister Yu. After all, he owed them a huge favor, with them taking care of him. When he stepped onto the big stage of Gu Masters, the dangers he would face would be much smaller. Unfortunately, there was a flaw in this connection because of Wan Yong. There was also the Chela demon, Qi Lian. Wan San sacrificed himself to the Chela demon for safety. This is a businessman's way of doing things, but it seems too weak. I don't like this style. If I go to Wan San, whether he is willing to take on the hatred of offending the Shell Armor Clan and Qi Lian is another matter. On the other hand, New Kuin dares to fight and is fearless. He dares to go against the demons. What Shun Lian cared about was not the elder seat that Kong Yu and Bien Chanyu mentioned, human flower goo and primordial water. These people dared to challenge the demons. It proved that they were strong enough. This was the biggest guarantee for survival in this dangerous and unpredictable world. How could Wan Sany's wealth compare to the strength of his fists? Thinking of this, Shun Lian's heart was moved. Kong, you are the vice leader. You are broad-minded and magnanimous. Birds of a feather flock together. I believe the leader's character is not bad. Unknowingly, Shun Lian had already started to analyze the future work environment. People roamed the world. Where there were people, there was the world. No matter where you went, you had to look at the people first. The people around you determined the comfort level of the environment. For example, whether a student's studies were good or not, it had a lot to do with his family's environment, as well as the atmosphere of his class. For example, if you joined a team after you started working, and one of them asked you to serve tea and coffee, and the other asked you to work overtime, and ordered you to do whatever you wanted, they ganged up on you and blocked your promotion. They made you wake up earlier than a chicken and sleep later than a dog. Would you feel comfortable? Shun Lian naturally didn't want to be sent on a suicide mission after joining New Kuin. How to avoid the risks involved depended on the person. With Kong Yu and Bien Chanyu's support, it was like having a vice sect leader and an elder on his side. Plus, with his own strength, he shouldn't have a hard time in the future. After considering all the factors, Shun Lian's desire to join New Kuin grew stronger and stronger. At this moment, Kong Yu and Bien Chanyu were a little nervous. Talents were hard to come by, and geniuses were even harder to come by. Only by being in a group with more outstanding people and forming a strong joint force could one live longer and more freely in this dangerous world. This principle was best understood by those who had experienced countless life and death situations. I'm willing to join New Kuin. At this moment, Shun Lian's expression became firm, and he suddenly opened his mouth. This made Kong Yu and Bien Chanyu excited and overjoyed. Ha ha ha, brother, you're indeed a straightforward person. Kong Yu was overjoyed. His white beard fluttered in the wind, and he even started calling Shun Lian brother. Brother, don't worry. This vice sect leader promises you that you won't regret this decision. Kong Yu was so excited that he grabbed Shun Lian's hand and held it tightly, as if he was afraid that Shun Lian would run away. Let's go. I'll take you to see the sect leader now. Shun Lian walked all the way to the deck. He looked around and realized that the iron-armored ship was docked at a river mouth. There was a road along the river that led straight to a huge building that was 100 meters tall. What was even more shocking was that the huge building's exterior was the rib frame of some kind of exotic beast. A spine stretched across the sky. The spine was connected to many ribs that pierced the ground. People couldn't help but think that a huge exotic beast had once laid here and died. Its flesh and blood had gradually rotted away. And New Kuin's people used the rib frame as the foundation to build layers of buildings inside. It was like living in the stomach of an exotic beast. Brother, that's New Kuin's headquarters. The rib frame you see is the remains of a young Kuin. We built the sect inside the Kuin's bones. This is also the origin of New Kuin's name. Shunlian was a little speechless. He had always thought that the two words New Kuin represented some kind of spiritual aura and sounded very majestic and domineering. He didn't expect it to be like this. They really had a Kuin. The three got off the ship and walked forward side by side. Taking this opportunity, Shunlian asked some questions. Gu masters are divided into realms. Are there any demons? Kongyu nodded. Yes, they are demons. How should I say it? Sigh. I'm not good with words. Elder Bien, please explain it to me. Bien Chanyu smiled and said, for example, let's take a snake as an example. Before a snake gains intelligence, it is only an ordinary beast. Once it gains intelligence, it will grow rapidly and its body will continue to grow bigger. This is the first stage of a demon's growth. It is called the original form. Shunlian pricked up his ears to listen. Demons are different from humans. We can only grow to 2 meters tall at most. But demons can grow without limit. This means that the original form of a demon is proportional to time. The longer it lives, the bigger its body and the more terrifying its strength. Grow without limit. Shunlian suddenly thought of the sharks on Earth. Their growth genes were different. Sharks' teeth could regenerate. Even if they were broken, they could still grow back. This made sharks the most ferocious fish in the ocean. Using this analogy, demons' growth genes were very strong. They could continue to grow and were much more terrifying than the dinosaurs in the Jurassic era. In the process of growing without limit, demons will continue to transform. For example, a snake will grow impenetrable scales, grow legs, and grow antennae on its head. Finally, it will transform into a completely different kind of demon, the dragon race. And in the process of continuous transformation, demons will obtain a common ability. That is shape-shifting. This is also the second stage of a demon's evolution. Demons can transform into human form. Compared to the original form, a demon's shape-shifting has two big advantages. First, it consumes less energy and is more conducive to storing energy. After revealing the original form will be even bigger and more terrifying. Second, demons in shape-shifting will obtain the biggest advantage of humans. They can also raise goo, refine goo, and use goo to become a powerful demon goo master. Hearing this, Shunlian was in disbelief. There are thousands of races in the world, but only humans can refine goo. That's right. This is very inconceivable and even inexplicable. But this is the truth. Only we humans can raise goo, refine goo, and use goo. This is also the biggest reason why humans can survive until now in this world where demons are rampant. Shunlian couldn't help but fall into deep thought. The similarity between humans and shape-shifting demons should be intelligence. Could it be that goo's nature is to choose species with higher intelligence? Do demon goo masters have an advantage over us? Hearing Shunlian's question, Bien Chanyu and Kongyu glanced at each other. Their faces were filled with endless gloominess, melancholy, and gloominess. Under certain special conditions, some special goo will be born. This law also applies to demons. During the process of shape-shifting, demons will often have a companion goo that is connected to the demon's aura. For example, the Shalan demon's companion goo is the water arrow goo. And after the demon shape-shifted, the companion goo will mature and evolve along with the demon's growth. Human goo masters need to spend a lot of effort and wealth to evolve the goo. But as long as the demon continues to eat, the companion goo will also evolve. Humans rely on goo to become stronger, while the companion goo relies on the demon to become stronger. Do you understand the difference? Shunlian was stunned. Doesn't that mean human goo masters can't defeat demon goo masters? From a certain perspective, the truth is this cruel. Bien Chan Yu sighed. Thus, shape-shifting demons are the greatest enemies of humans. Of course, compared to demon goo masters, we also have an advantage. What advantage? Time. Humans have a lifespan of about 80 years. Compared to the almost immortal demons, we grow old and die very quickly. Some demons can take a nap for decades, but we humans will produce countless experts during this period of time. Speaking of this, Bien Chan Yu introduced another crucial piece of information. Demons have a hunting cycle. They don't eat every day, but eat once in a while. The time varies from a few years to 100 years. It is enough for us humans to recuperate. Chapter 65. Demons don't eat every day. After they eat once, they will stop for a period of time. Shun Lian muttered, demons really treat humans like livestock. When they're hungry, they will come out and catch some humans as food, and when they're full, they will go back to sleep. Looking at Bien Chan Yu, he asked, there's another question. How many forces are there to resist the demons? Aristocratic families, sects, the imperial court, will they participate? Mentioning this, Bien Chan Yu became silent, pursing his lips as if he was unable to make up his mind. Kan Yu coughed lightly. Brother, you are already one of us. It is not a problem to know some secrets of the sect. Bien Chan Yu thought about it and agreed. She exhaled and said slowly, the imperial court is the highest ruler of the mortal world. Even if they have thousands of soldiers and horses, they are still mortal forces. They can't fight against demons. For example, the Shalan demon you killed, this demon's shell is extremely hard. The imperial court's specially made crossbow can penetrate the city walls, but cannot break the Shalan demon's shell. Even if the imperial court organizes 100,000 navy to suppress the Shalan demon, the result will only be a crushing defeat, and the navy will become food for the demons. This kind of thing has happened before. A crushing defeat almost led to a change of dynasty. Thus, the imperial court only cares about the matters of the mortal world. The only ones who can deal with the demons are those with special abilities, that is, us goo masters. A strong goo master can move mountains and seas, and is comparable to a huge army. And in the goo master world, aristocratic families and sects are the strongest. They have their own territories and are a group of heroes. Their core strength is usually focused on researching the goo path and nurturing outstanding and strong goo masters, rarely moving about in the world. The ones who are more active are the external forces of the aristocratic families, the outer sect disciples of the sects, and the gangs that rely on the aristocratic families and sections. For example, New Kuan, we rely on the strongest aristocratic family in the northern lands, Family Lin. Nearly 70% of the northern lands was Family Lin's territory. After all, it was too big, and Family Lin could not manage it all. Naturally, they would need to support a certain Jianghu sect to manage it. New Kuan was in charge of half of Family Lin's territory. The resources in this territory were developed by New Kuan. We kept a portion of the income for ourselves, and most of it was handed over to Family Lin. At the same time, if there were demons causing trouble in these territories, New Kuan had to do their best to suppress and exterminate them. They had to ensure the safety of some important cities and towns so that most of the people could live and reproduce. Family Lin will also regularly distribute some restricted resources to New Kuan, mainly talent goo and primeval water, to help the sect nurture some talents and maintain a certain level of strength. As Shun Lian listened, his brows gradually furrowed into a knot. That is to say, the strongest force in the human race that can resist the demons basically does not care about worldly affairs. Bien Chan Yu nodded. Brother, you can't think of the core strength of the aristocratic families and sects as the treasured sword of the hidden edge. It is precisely because of their existence that all the demons are deterred, and the demons cannot wantonly prey on the human race. Only when there's a major demon calamity would these core strength be mobilized. For example, 13 years ago, there was a demon that successfully transformed into a human. Its companion goo was the extremely rare gluttony goo. It needed to continuously consume blood to replenish itself, and the more it ate, the stronger it became. Thus, this demon continuously destroyed more than 10 villages and then ran to the big cities to cause trouble. In a few days, it devoured 5,000 to 6,000 people, and no one could stop it. New Kuan fought with their lives on the line, but suffered heavy casualties. They had no choice but to send a request to Family Lin, and Family Lin sent 7 inter-clan experts to deal with that demon together. Shun Lian understood. The so-called core strength of the aristocratic families and sects was equivalent to nuclear weapons. They were mainly used as deterrents and were rarely used. As they spoke, the 3 entered the Kuan bone. This way, Kong Yu smiled as he walked in front. Along the way, he met many new Kuan members, and they all bowed respectfully. Subordinate greets Vice Gang Leader. Greetings, Elder Kong. Greetings, Vice Gang Leader. Shun Lian discovered that Kong Yu seemed to be very popular. When the gang members saw him, their eyes were filled with sincere respect, and they all smiled from ear to ear. Soon, the 3 arrived in front of a grand door made of gold powder. Is the gang leader here? Kong Yu smiled as he asked the gatekeeper. Yes, subordinate will go inform him now. The gatekeeper opened the door lightly and entered in a flash. He quickly returned and opened the door completely. Elder Kong, the gang leader invites you in. Kong Yu turned around. Brother, wait for me here for a while. Shun Lian nodded with a light smile. Kong Yu and Bien Chanyu entered the door together. After waiting for about 15 minutes, Bien Chanyu smiled as he walked out, waving his hand. Brother, the gang leader wants to see you. Shun Lian calmed himself down and entered an elegant room with exquisite decorations. Brother, quickly come and greet the gang leader. This room was huge, and the bedroom was connected to the study room. At this moment, in front of the study table, beside Kong Yu sat an elderly man. He had a peaceful smile, and his gaze was gentle, with a sharp glint hidden in the depths of his pupils. Shun Lian walked forward and immediately felt a strong pressure, causing his heart to jump. A faint dragon's roar resounded, and the pressure on his body lessened by a lot. Shun Lian greets the gang leader. Shun Lian had already asked when he came. This gang leader's name was Man Boyu, a silver rank 8 Gu master, and also the strongest Gu master in New Kuan. Moreover, his Gu was also a strange Gu, with strange and unpredictable abilities. Kong Yu also specially reminded Shun Lian, if Man Boyu attacked him, he must not panic. Man Boyu sized up Shun Lian and suddenly jumped up from behind the study table, pressing his palm towards Shun Lian's head. A strong wind blew, pressing down on Shun Lian's head. Shun Lian raised his chi and was shocked to find that the green copper primeval essence in the iron jade Gu's aperture could not be activated, as if there was a mysterious force sealing the aperture. So that's it. Shun Lian laughed, not panicking, and raised his hand to push towards the sky. A loud sound was heard. Man Boyu's powerful palm did not have a trace of strength, and lightly patted Shun Lian's palm, before returning to his seat in a flash. Good. You are indeed a genius in martial arts, a dragon among men. Man Boyu was full of energy, his old face showing a gratified expression. Shun Lian's gaze flickered and curiously asked, Gang leader, is your strange Gu able to seal the primeval essence in other people's apertures? Man Boyu laughed. That's right. My Gu is called Aperture Seal Gu and can seal the primeval essence in other people's apertures, causing the Gu master to instantly lose his strength. Shun Lian thought as expected in his heart and was secretly shocked. Gu masters rely heavily on Gu, and the primeval essence in their aperture is the source of their strength. Man Boyu could directly seal the aperture, causing you to be unable to use your strength. Too shameless. Simply not letting you live. Man Boyu laughed. Of course, the aperture seal Gu is not omnipotent. It only has the ability to seal Gu that have opened the aperture, and has no effect on other types of Gu, such as the body fusion type Gu. That is enough to make most of the Gu masters in the world cry for their parents. Shun Lian's mouth twitched, thinking to himself that I only have 2 apertures in my body, and if you seal them all at once, my battle strength will be reduced by half. Manboyu waved his hand and frankly said, "Don't think that the aperture seal goo is miraculous, but it also has a huge flaw. The aperture seal goo can seal the apertures in other people's bodies, and, similarly, it also has a restrictive effect on me. Thus, from the moment I chose the aperture seal goo as my main advancement goo, I was destined to only have 1 aperture in my body." Shunlian suddenly understood. The power was miraculous, but the price was not small. Kongyu coughed and urged, "Big brother, you have seen him. Quickly give me a straightforward answer." "Let me say this first. I promised brother Shunlian an elder position, and he agreed to come. If you don't agree, then you can say that I went back on my words." Manboyu disdainfully said, "In terms of shamelessness, if you say you are number 2 in the world, no one would dare to say they are number 1. Kongyu said righteously, "I don't care about any sect rules. New Kuin is after all the number 1 sect in the north. How can a dignified vice leader go back on his word? This elder position must be given." Chapter 66. Manboyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He was speechless and rolled his eyes at Kongyu. He sighed and said, 7 of the 8 elders are missing. Who knows how many people in the sect are eyeing this position? Some of them have outstanding military achievements and are willing to work hard without complaint. They have been waiting for more than 10 years. It's their turn to be ranked. Shunlian is a newcomer and has no reputation. If he suddenly occupies the position that everyone covets, it would be strange if the others don't make a fuss. How can they convince the others? He tilted his head and looked at Kongyu. "Third brother, don't tell me you have a grudge against Shunlian. Why are you pushing him into the fire pit?" Kongyu stomped his feet anxiously. "How can the position of elder be a fire pit? As long as Big Brother supports it, plus me, Elder Bien, Su Fu, Liang Qizhu, and Bu Linkong, together with a recommendation, who would dare to oppose it? You're oversimplifying things. Don't forget, someone is determined to get the position of elder." Manboyu pressed his hand down and suddenly said with deep meaning. Kongyu's breathing paused when he heard that. His expression turned serious. Bien Chanyu's expression also changed. Shunlian didn't have much ambition for the position of elder. But when he said this, a black vortex slowly formed and floated above Manboyu's head. Disaster. Shunlian couldn't help but squint. He was the leader of New Kuan. Disaster actually befell him. Could it be that someone was trying to usurp power? If someone is trying to usurp the throne, I have to encourage and provoke them to earn a lot of deceit points. Shunlian's eyes burned with passion. "Leader, I'm a newborn calf who is not afraid of tigers. I want to try jumping into this fire pit." Manboyu's eyes flashed. He looked deeply at Shunlian and suddenly laughed. He clapped his hands and said, "Good, but you have to think carefully. When the time comes, you'll be attacked by many people." Manboyu suddenly reminded him. Shunlian said domineeringly, "A soldier who doesn't want to be conferred the title of Marquis or King is not a good soldier." Hearing this, the Manboyu slapped his thigh. The bell rang 3 times. This was New Kuan's signal to gather all the elders and above. Not long after, the 7 elders, the 2 vice sect leaders, and the sect leader were all present in the main hall of the meeting hall. "Sect Master, why have you suddenly summoned us?" His subordinate was slightly anxious. "I am refining goo. It is a crucial period. I cannot leave for too long. Please forgive me." The Manboyu chuckled and gestured with his hand. "I called you here because I have something to tell you." He paused, and his gaze flashed across everyone's faces. Just recently, the sea serpent demons that have plagued the Wei River for more than 150 years have been killed. What? There's actually such a thing. The heavens have eyes. Our new Kuan had close to 300 heroes who died under the sea serpent demons. They can finally rest in peace. Oh, the River Demon Clan is hidden deep in the water and has always been the hardest to kill. Who has the ability to kill the sea serpent demons? The main hall was in an uproar. Everyone was agitated. The Manboyu saw this and laughed loudly. The person who killed the sea serpent demons is not a member of New Kuan. His surname is Shun Lian, 18 years old, a silver-grade Gu master. The sound of people gasping could be heard in the world. 18 years old silver-grade. Everyone was shocked. Some were even in disbelief. The man Boyu clapped his hands. Immediately, everyone heard footsteps at the entrance of the main hall and turned to look. They saw a handsome young master walking over. His figure was tall and straight. He was elegant and outstanding, his eyes shining with brilliance. At once, everyone was curiously sizing him up. Shun Lian greets everyone. The person who came was indeed Shun Lian. His entrance was like a rehearsal. It was just right to enter people's hearts and leave a deep impression on everyone. The man Boyu laughed. I have a joyous news to share with everyone. Shun Lian intends to join our new Kuan. Once he finished speaking, all kinds of praises could be heard in the main hall. Good. Welcome, welcome. Shun Lian's heroic appearance is unparalleled genius. He is indeed a hero. The reason why New Kuan can dominate the Jianghu in the north is because geniuses like little brother Shun Lian are continuously joining us. This is a joyous news. When the time was right, the man Boyu raised his eyebrows and asked with a smile, Shun Lian killed a Shalan demon and has outstanding merits. He is also a heavenly genius, a silver-grade Gu master. What do you all think about his position arrangement? Once he finished speaking, Bian Chanyu immediately said, Wei River is within my jurisdiction. I admit that I cannot kill a Shalan demon, but I have an elder position. I am ashamed. If it were up to me, I would give Shun Lian an elder position. Hearing this, the originally harmonious atmosphere instantly cooled down. Two elders suddenly felt thirsty. They lowered their heads and sipped on their teacups. Today's tea seemed to have a special taste. The faces of the other four elders quickly darkened. They frowned and kept exchanging glances with each other. The main hall was silent for a long time. No one made a sound. The other vice leader, Su Fu, had been yawning from the start and was drowsy, showing an expression of I am enjoying my retirement. Don't disturb me. At this time, Kong Yu lightly coughed and said, Heroes do not care about their age. Whoever can kill a demon is a true hero. I support Elder Bian's suggestion. I also think it is a good idea. Man Boyu stood out at this time and decided on his opinion. Leader, this is not appropriate. Suddenly, an elder with long eyebrows anxiously jumped out. Chao Yuqing, what's wrong? Kong Yu was not surprised and looked coldly at him. He knew the other party had always wanted his son, Chao Cheng, to sit on the elder position. Shun Lian is a new member. Although he has made a lot of contributions, he is still inexperienced and not familiar with the affairs of the faction. He still needs some time to practice. If we push him to a high position in such a hurry, I am afraid it will be difficult to convince the others. Chao Yuqing was wearing a green robe and had a malicious face. His voice was filled with anger. In an instant, the black vortex above man Boyu's head became bigger. Shun Lian finally understood the situation. These people were divided into three groups. Man Boyu, Kong Yu, and Bian Chanyu were in one group. The four elders led by Chao Yuqing were in one group. The others were in the neutral group. Chao Yuqing and these backbones are forming a clique for their own selfish interests and are trying to make Man Boyu a figurehead. They are very ambitious. Shun Lian's mind was clear. As expected, as soon as Chao Yuqing spoke, the other three elders all agreed. Leader, you want to recruit talent for the faction, but you should also consider the elders in the faction. They have worked so hard for the faction for so many years. How can they be inferior to a new member of the younger generation? That's right. The faction has long had rules. The promotion channels are clearly stated. If we break the rules and promote him like this, it is tantamount to ignoring the rules. How can we ask the members to follow the rules in the future? Leader, please think twice. If you start this, it will cause chaos. The three elders said one after another, with a look of dissatisfaction. Man Boyu was not surprised at all. He waved his hand and was about to say something when he heard sneer. Chapter 67. The main hall was silent for a full 15 seconds. Chao Yuqing and the other three were stunned. They looked at Shun Lian with a stupefied expression. They had never been provoked like this in their lives. The other party was so unscrupulous and arrogant. This was something they did not expect. Arrogant. Chao Yuqing calmed down and became furious. He slammed the table and stood up. His eyes were filled with killing intent. I even dared to kill a Colonian. Old bastard, are you the one who doesn't accept me? Shun Lian sneered and pointed at the bronze cauldron in the center of the main hall. It was as tall as a person and needed 5 people to wrap their arms around it. There was a faint fragrance coming out of it. How heavy is this cauldron? Chao Yuqing did not know what was going on and did not answer. Kong Yuqing shouted, "This is a cauldron used to bless the heavens in ancient times. It weighs 9,999 jin." Shun Lian walked over and under everyone's gaze. He held up the cauldron with his arms and slowly raised it above his head. Then he threw it at Chao Yuqing. The cauldron smashed down. Oh my God! Chao Yuqing's scalp went numb. He quickly jumped to the side, but before his body landed on the ground, a sword light flashed and slashed at his neck. Chao Yuqing's hair stood on end. Do you want to know how I killed a Colonian? Now I will let you feel the fear of a Colonian before its death. Shun Lian's cold voice exploded in his ears. Dodge! Chao Yuqing's face flashed with fear. He suddenly shouted and turned into a series of afterimages. At the critical moment, he disappeared from the wind-chasing sword. Shun Lian was surprised. His gaze was fixed on the series of afterimages. In a split second, Chao Yuqing moved 10 meters to the side. Such a fast movement speed was unheard of. Elder Chao's dodge-gu is indeed amazing. It can instantly leave the original spot and move freely within a 10-meter radius. Right at this time, Kong Yu laughed loudly. However, dodge-gu's primeval essence consumption is extremely high. Even with Elder Chao's talent, he can at most dodge twice. Kong Yu, you reveal my secret. Chao Yuqing cursed Kong Yu's 18 generations of ancestors in her heart. Gu masters were most afraid of having their secrets exposed. Shun Lian understood and sneered. Old thing, you sure run fast. Are you a rabbit? He grabbed one of the legs of the bronze cauldron and threw it toward Chao Yuqing. Chao Yuqing's face was full of disbelief. She didn't dare to jump to the side again. Instead, she chose to retreat. She was always vigilant to her left and right, guarding against Shun Lian's cold sword attack. Old thing, I'm here. Chao Yuqing raised her head and was almost scared out of her wits. Shun Lian was actually attacking from above. He jumped high and kicked the bronze cauldron. The terrifying strength of his kick caused the bronze cauldron to accelerate and fall, crashing towards Chao Yuqing. Dodge! Chao Yuqing's hair stood on end. She had no choice but to use dodge-gu again. This was the second time she used dodge-gu, and also the last time. A series of afterimages moved in an arc and finally made half a circle and stopped behind Shun Lian. Blazing fire gu! Blazing fire gu! As she shouted, a fireball the size of a watermelon appeared on Chao Yuqing's raised hands. It burned, and the fire was red in color. Under the blazing fire, the temperature of the whole hall rose sharply. Be careful! Kong Yu and Bian Chanyu shouted at the same time. The color of the fire changed, and the man Boyu squinted his eyes. But soon, they realized that their worries were unnecessary. Shun Lian tilted his head and paid attention to Chao Yuqing. While he was in the air, he swung his sword and created a mysterious sword flower. The sword flower exploded. A rain of bullets shot toward Chao Yuqing. One of the bullets hit the red fireball. Boom! A loud explosion was heard. The crimson fireball immediately exploded. Chao Yuqing, who was about to throw the fireball, saw it explode right in front of her and was shocked. The monstrous flames engulfed Chao Yuqing, and a shockwave from the explosion sent her flying, crashing into the wall. Chao Yuqing rolled on the ground after falling. Her body was bathed in flames as she screamed in agony. Elder Chao. The expressions of the 3 elders who were on Chao Yuqing's side changed drastically as they cried out in alarm. They never thought that Chao Yuqing would lose, and lose so miserably. Man Boyu stood up slowly and looked at one of them. He said in a deep voice, Gong Sun Ji, hurry up and save him. Do you want to see Elder Chao burned to death? Oh. Gong Sun Ji regained his senses. Flowing bagu? Splash water. No one knew what Gong Sun Ji did, but an illusory river appeared in the air. The water flowed out and splashed onto Chao Yuqing's body. After a short while, the flames were extinguished, and Chao Yuqing, who was emitting smoke from her entire body, lay on the ground like a dead dog, gasping violently for breath. Her luxurious green robe had become tattered. Her hair and eyebrows were burnt black, and there were many places on her body that were badly mutilated. Too miserable. Seeing this scene, Gong Sun Ji and the others' faces twitched, their gazes moving back and forth between Chao Yuqing and Shun Lian, their expressions filled with shock. Shun Lian stared coldly at Gong Sun Ji and the others. "You three, are you convinced? You don't go too far," Gong Sun Ji roared, turning towards Man Boyu. "Leader, Shun Lian is vicious and merciless. He has no respect for his elders. Letting this person join us is not our fortune." "I am not convinced," Shun Lian sneered, walking towards the giant bronze cauldron. Gong Sun Ji's hair stood on end, cold sweat pouring down like rain. He could tell that Shun Lian definitely had a martial path gu. His body was as strong as a demon, and his sword skills were incomparably sharp. These martial path geniuses all had a common trait. They had extremely high battle strength and were good at attacking. Even though Shun Lian had just advanced to the silver rank, his strength could no longer be considered as an ordinary silver rank. There was no resentment if the sea serpent demon died to this person. There was no resentment if Chao Yuqing lost to this person. Gong Sun, leader, Elder Chao is heavily injured. It is better to send him to the hospital for treatment. Gong Sun Ji immediately found a way out of this embarrassing situation. Man Boyu glanced at Chao Yuqing, who was like a dead dog, and said solemnly, "It is best not to spread the matter of Elder Chao getting injured from the spar with Shun Lian. Let's just say to the outside world that Elder Chao wanted to welcome Shun Lian's promotion to an elder and specially perform his fireball skill as a celebration. But because of his carelessness, he got himself injured. What do you all think? Leader is really considerate of Elder Chao's reputation. Kong Yu had an expression of "you are very wise." Gong Sun Ji and the others looked at each other, their hearts twitching. If this was the conclusion, Shun Lian would be innocent of harming others, while Chao Yuqing would suffer for nothing and would have no place to cry. He openly covered up for Chao Yuqing and actually said that he was considerate of Chao Yuqing's reputation. Ruthless, too ruthless. However, they didn't dare to make a fuss. Without saying anything, they helped Chao Yuqing up and left with their tails between their legs. When they passed by Shun Lian, Gong Sun Ji and the others felt an inexplicable heaviness in their hearts. Man Boyu, Su Fu, and Kong Yu were all old and would definitely retire in 2 or 3 years. At that time, the positions of the new leader and the 2 deputy leaders would be vacant. Within the gang, Chao Yuqing's faction had already risen to power. Their influence was huge, and their roots were intertwined. They were gradually suppressing Man Boyu. The future leader would definitely be Chao Yuqing, but that was the conclusion before today. Chapter 68. New Kuan went into an uproar. The seat of the elder that had been undecided for a long time was suddenly taken by Shun Lian. Many people were dumbfounded and surprised. Who is Shun Lian? Never heard of him. Could he be the leader's illegitimate son? I always thought that elder position would be Chao Cheng's. The gang members discussed fervently. Soon, more news came out. Let me tell you, this Shun Lian is very amazing, an 18-year-old silver rank Gu master. He was the one who killed the Gue demon. The Gue demon is the river demon that killed over 300 of our brothers. It is very terrifying and the hardest to kill. Shun Lian took revenge for our brothers. Yes, so many elders could not do anything to the Gue demon. Just based on this, I am convinced by Elder Shun. There is even more shocking news. Have you heard? When the leader wanted to promote Shun Lian to an elder, Elder Chao Yuqing expressed his dissatisfaction and fought with Shun Lian. In the end, Elder Chao Yuqing was heavily injured by Shun Lian. It's true, I saw with my own eyes that Elder Chao Yuqing was sent to the medical hall. I heard his injuries were not light, and his face was unrecognizable. Elder Chao Yuqing has been famous for a long time. To think that even he was not Shun Lian's match, no wonder Shun Lian had the ability to kill the Gui demon. Gong Sun Ji and the rest heard these discussions and felt a chill in their hearts. Obviously, these news were released by Man Boyu. Without the leader's permission, no one dared to spread this news so recklessly. After all, there was a difference in seniority. Ordinary gang members did not dare to casually talk about the elders. Man Boyu had just said that he wanted to protect Chao Yuqing's reputation, but he immediately betrayed Chao Yuqing. The speed and viciousness of his backstabbing made people tremble in fear. All these years, Chao Yuqing has been constantly usurping power. Man Boyu can't tolerate it anymore. It's just that Chao Yuqing is fully grown and Man Boyu hasn't had the chance to deal with her yet. Shun Lian appeared out of nowhere and defeated Chao Yuqing in one fell swoop. The Man Boyu finally made his move and did not show any mercy. Watch carefully, the Man Boyu definitely has something else up his sleeve. The next day, as expected, Man Boyu used Chao Yuqing's recuperation as an excuse to arrange for another meritorious elder, Li Yunxing, who was also a famous elder in the gang, to temporarily take over Chao Yuqing's position. After Li Yunxing took over, he sharpened his blade and immediately got rid of Chao Yuqing's trusted aides. He took drastic measures to remove the remaining poison and promoted many talented people. In just a few days, the world had completely changed. Chao Yuqing's faction fell as fast as Chao Yuqing's defeat. It was dazzling. Gong Sun Ji and the other two were extremely terrified. They all asked to resign and were persuaded to stay by Man Boyu. The three of them immediately expressed their loyalty. Then, they turned around and revealed the matter of Chao Yuqing's embezzlement of all kinds of money in the MO gang. The evidence was conclusive and irrefutable. Man Boyu immediately removed all of Chao Yuqing's authority and confiscated all of her assets according to the gang's rules. Chao Yuqing was also detained and thrown into prison. All of her goo was taken away, and her cultivation was completely destroyed. Her son, Chao Cheng, happened to not be in Ronghua City at the time of the incident. After the incident, his whereabouts were unknown. He might have escaped after hearing the news. This is a power struggle. Shun Lian sighed in his heart. He could not hide the joy on his face. After he defeated Chao Yuqing, the black vortex that originally covered Man Boyu's head moved to Chao Yuqing's head. After Chao Yuqing's cultivation was completely destroyed, the black vortex condensed into the power of Calamity and became food for the Calamity Goo. Calamity Goo, Bronze Level 5, Special Effect, Chaotic Calamity Vortex, Heart Demon Corruption. First, it was the Claw Demon, then Chao Yuqing. After the two Calamity powers, the Calamity Goo rose by 3 levels and recovered to Bronze Level 5. In addition, I also obtained 2,000 bewilderment points. Shun Lian was unable to restrain his joy. He glanced at the interface and saw that his bewilderment points were actually at 5,610 points. It seems that no matter if it is a man-made calamity or a demon calamity, the wider the affected area, the more power of calamity and bewilderment points I can obtain. If Chao Yuqing had ignored my provocation and endured silently, he would have had 10,000 ways to kill me, even if I had become an elder, even if he had succeeded in usurping power, given the power he had built up in the Furious Kuan gang over the years and the many talents under his command. Unfortunately, there are no ifs in this world. While thinking of this, Shun Lian arrived outside the clan leader's room. After informing him, he once again entered Man Boyu's study room. Man Boyu was sitting behind the desk with a smile on his face. He was in a very good mood. "Elder Shun, you are here." Man Boyu looked at Shun Lian with heartfelt admiration in his eyes. Actually, he had initially supported Shun Lian to become an elder because he wanted to increase the bargaining chip on his side and use it to suppress Chao Yuqing's growing strength. After 3 to 5 years, when Shun Lian had matured, he would then decide based on the situation. But he had never expected that Shun Lian would use such a simple and crude method to directly beat Chao Yuqing into a dead dog and solve the internal problem in one fell swoop. This is a congratulatory gift for you. Man Boyu handed over 3 brocade boxes. Shun Lian received them and opened them. There were 3 goo inside. These are Chao Yoqing's goo. One is blazing fire goo, one is tempering fire goo, and one is evasion goo. If you want them, you can keep them and refine them yourself. If you don't want them, you can hand them over to the treasury and exchange them for other resources, like primordial water. Man Boyu smiled. Shun Lian muttered to himself, I already have 6 goo in my body. Fortune Trickster goo, Grandmaster goo, Iron Jade goo, Milk Cow goo, Dragon Heart goo, and Strong Root goo. I have also opened 2 apertures. However, the number of apertures opened cannot be unlimited. As for how to choose the main ascension goo, I need to think deeply before making a decision. Shun Lian thought to himself. He could not help but look at Man Boyu. Leader is very knowledgeable and knows many secrets. He might be able to give me some valuable advice. Thinking of this, Shun Lian asked the question in his heart. How should I choose the main ascension goo? Man Boyu thought for a few seconds. In my opinion, there should be 2 paths to take. If you take either path well, your achievements will not be bad. Which 2 paths? This will have to start from the relationship between the main ascension goo. Whether it is single or multiple, each has its own advantages. If you have 3 main ascension goo, they are the same type or extremely similar type. Moreover, they have a cooperative relationship with each other. This is known as a single main ascension goo. For example, Chao Yoqing's blazing fire goo and tempering fire goo are typical single main ascension goo. These 2 goo only exist for one purpose, which is to strengthen the fireball's power. However, although the fireball's power is huge, it takes a long time to use it, and it is easy to be attacked. Thus, the evasion goo is added. The advantage is that it has huge power and is tyrannical. The disadvantage is that it is too single and can be easily countered. Then what about multiple? This is more general. There are many types of goo mixed together. For example, 3 main ascension goo, 1 for offense, 1 for defense, and 1 for healing. This is multiple. Chapter 69. Shun Lian thought of many things at once. Lin Xiaoping, who was killed by him, had the curse-type piercing little man goo and the control-type puppet goo. They were actually a series of single development. However, piercing little man goo and puppet goo required the information of the target's flesh and blood. The activation conditions were very strict. Thus, Lin Xiaoping refined the bear paw goo to increase his close combat ability. There was also Sister Yu Manxiu. Her teleportation goo and morning glory goo should belong to the spatial series. Her main advancement direction was also single. There are specializations in every field. Under the situation where a person's energy and financial resources are limited, diversified development is an extremely extravagant thing, while single development is relatively easier. This was not hard to understand. It was like a university's specialization. Students did not study everything, but instead chose a subject to specialize in, such as medicine making. And at the postgraduate level, they would do more detailed operations and choose a direction to make a breakthrough, such as researching medicine to treat cancer. Goo masters were the same. Man Boyu continued. Many goo masters start from single development, but at the later stage, when the conditions are met, they would diversify their development and enrich their methods. Shun Lian nodded. Others had no choice but to do so, but for him who had the life twister goo, he did not have to worry too much and naturally chose to diversify his development. From the economic concept of risk, it was to not put all your eggs in one basket. In layman's terms, it was to not hang yourself on a tree. After Shun Lian made up his mind, he asked about the main advancement goo's evolution. Gang leader, I currently have 2 main advancement goo, Grandmaster goo and Iron Jade goo. Regarding the evolution path of these 2 goo, can you give me some advice? Shun Lian took the initiative to reveal what his goo was. There were 3 reasons for this. First, Man Boyu's sealed aperture goo was the nemesis of the 2 main advancement goo. It could not be exposed. Second, he took the initiative to reveal it, expressing mutual trust. Third, many people had already guessed what his main advancement goo was, and Man Boyu was one of them. So, It is the Grandmaster Gu. The man Boyu had an as-expected expression on his face. He restrained his expression and became serious. He thought seriously for a while before speaking. After all, Shunlian was a general under his command. The best way to capture his loyalty was to let him improve continuously. It was not a small matter to guide him on how to develop. Your main advancement, Gu has one offensive and one defensive Gu. They complement each other. Their advantage is that they are extremely strong in close combat, but their weakness is that they lack mid-range and long-range attacking methods. Thus, I suggest you work on the following 2 points. First, continue to strengthen your close combat abilities, like increasing your movement speed. Chao Yoqing's evasion, Gu has great potential. Second, make up for your mid-range and long-range attacking methods. For example, Chao Yoqing's Blaze Gu and Quench Fire Gu are mid-range fire-type Gu. Other than that, regarding Grandmaster Gu, I need to focus on it. You are a martial arts genius. Grandmaster Gu feeds on your comprehension. The deeper your comprehension, the faster Grandmaster Gu evolves. This is the advantage of Wisdom-type Gu. Your potential is limitless. Your body is strong. You advance to the silver rank at the age of 18. Focus on evolving Grandmaster Gu in the future. You have a high chance of advancing to the gold rank. Shunlian smiled. He did not expect Grandmaster Gu to be the best disguise for him to use bewitchment points to evolve his Gu. Regarding the evolution of Grandmaster Gu, I think there are 2 paths. First, you cultivate sword skills. You can fuse Grandmaster Gu with Sword Cauldron Gu and evolve it into Sword Master Gu. In the future, you can evolve it into Sword Saint Gu. One sword can destroy all methods. This is the path of Sword Saint, focusing on sword path. Second, Grandmaster Gu is a martial path Gu. It is suitable for developing all around the martial path. You can fuse Grandmaster Gu with Martial Scholar Gu and evolve it into Martial Master Gu. In the future, you can fuse it with Martial Star Gu and evolve it into Martial Saint Gu, using martial arts to prove your Tao. This is the path of Martial Saint, dominating the martial path. Shunlian was shaken to the core. Has anyone taken these 2 paths before? Yes. Man Boya nodded. In fact, one of the 3 strongest clans in ancient Yu country, Xie clan, has a bloodline Gu that is a Sword Saint Gu. Xie clan cultivates sword path, and when they use their sword, the world is in shock. There is also Martial Saint Gu. It is an inheritance Gu of some sects. They cultivate martial path. Their members all have unparalleled martial arts and shocking battle strength. Someone has already walked these paths. Shunlian pondered. Other than these 2 paths, is there a better evolution path? Man Boya thought for a while before slowly nodding. There is, but it is extremely difficult to achieve. Only some strong clans or sects have the foundation to accomplish it. Oh, Shunlian could not help but be curious. First, you need to find at least 1,000 schools of thought Gu, like Legalism Gu, Taoism Gu, Moism Gu, Confucianism Gu, Yin-Yang Gu, Famous Person Gu, Miscellaneous Gu, Farmer Gu, Novel Gu, Vertical and Horizontal Gu, Military Gu, Dr. Gu, and so on, to refine 100 schools of thought Gu. Next, Scholar Gu and 100 School Gu are fused into Strategist Gu. The tyrant creates chaos in spring and autumn. The king seizes the world. The strategist is unparalleled in history. The person who has Strategist Gu will be able to plan without fail. The world is hidden in their mind, and victory can be decided from 1,000 miles away. Next, Grandmaster Gu and Martial Scholar Gu are fused into Martial Ancestor Gu. The final step is to fuse Martial Ancestor Gu with Strategist Gu to obtain Military Strategy Gu. This Gu is all-encompassing. It includes military strategy, business path, martial path, and so on. It is extremely powerful. Once military strategy is used, sword saints will bend their swords. Martial saints will bow their heads. No one will be able to match it. Who will dare to challenge it? Shunlian's mind was stirred. What a great military strategy Gu. His heart was burning with excitement, but the difficulty of the battle strategy path was obvious. Just collecting 1,000 schools of thought Gu would cost an astronomical sum. Man Boyu said everything he knew. Shunlian directly let go, and asked about the best way to evolve milk cow goo. You can find a virtuous wife help goo and milk cow goo to fuse into beautiful lady goo. This goo is very useful in condensing snow silver primeval essence. Man Boyu's mind was filled with knowledge. Shun Lian was extremely grateful and stood up to leave. On the way, Shun Lian's mind was in turmoil. After thinking for a while, he looked at the 3 brocade boxes in his hand and made a decision. Chao Yoqing's fireball attack was extremely powerful, but the preparation time was too long. Thus, it was defeated by my sword. There was no need to keep a defeated opponent. He could give up on blazing fire goo and tempering fire goo. Dodge goo is not bad. It is not used for dodging, but to attack the enemy. Thinking of this, Shun Lian directly walked towards the accounting room. The Kuan Bone's internal structure was complex. There were many rooms, and there were a total of 5 floors. The accounting room was on the 2nd floor. Shun Lian went from the 5th floor to the 2nd floor, and along the way, he alerted many passers-by. Subordinate pays respects to Elder Shun. Greetings, Elder Shun. Elder Shun is so young. What young? This is heroic appearance. Handsome and elegant. Shun Lian only smiled. Chapter 70. Shun Lian looked at Qian Sheng with a pleasant expression. No need for formalities, Deacon Qian. Elder, please take a seat. Qian Sheng raised his head with a flattering smile, not daring to show the slightest bit of disrespect. Shun Lian entered the accounting room and sat down in the elegantly arranged living room. Just as he sat down, a servant girl with a sweet smile served him tea. Deacon Qian, I am new here and do not understand some of the rules. I'll have to trouble you to explain them to me. Shun Lian took a sip of the tea. The taste was clean and light, making his mood inexplicably better. This subordinate is afraid. How can I bear the words trouble? Qian Sheng was really in fear and trepidation. His smile disappeared, and he became serious. He organized his thoughts and introduced the matters related to the elders. Every month, the accounting room will give out salaries to the elders and above, mainly in the form of primordial water and money. In addition, talent goo is only given out once every half a year. Half a year? Shun Lian was a little unsettled. Qian Sheng smiled bitterly and nodded. Talent goo is a restricted resource. Family Lin will give out some talent goo every half a year based on the results of New Kuan's battle. Then, the sect will distribute them according to each elder's contribution points. Shun Lian clenched his teeth. He had the urge to rob the Lin family of their possessions. Kong Sheng, in order to recruit me, you took out half a year's salary and put in a lot of capital. He inwardly thought. Qian Sheng continued. The territory under the jurisdiction of the 8 elders is also divided into 8. Each of them is in charge of an area. Saying so, Qian Sheng took out a map of the north and slowly unfolded it, pointing at a certain area. This is the area you are in charge of. There are 2 big cities, 19 towns, over 100 villages, 6 mineral reserves, 2 banks, 25 oil mills, and other shops of various sizes. So many. Shun Lian frowned. Do I need to take care of all these? In other words, it would waste a lot of time and effort. Qian Sheng quickly waved his hand. Of course you don't need to do it yourself. There will be people below who will take care of it for you. But there is a very important task. I am afraid you will have to handle it personally. Security? That's right. Once a demon disaster occurs in a certain place, the elder or the elder's right-hand man will have to keep an eye on the place where the demon disaster is occurring. Then, according to the actual situation, they will have to arrange capable men to deal with it. Shun Lian thought for a while and asked, What's with those bounty posters in the Goo Garden? At the mention of this, Qian Sheng smiled mysteriously. He lowered his voice and said, Some demon disasters are very strange. We always need some people to explore their depths. We put out a bounty to recruit some warriors. Shun Lian understood immediately. No one knew what kind of monster was causing trouble and harming people, how many monsters were there, how powerful these monsters were, what methods they had, and how to deal with them. New Kuan was not a fool. He would not send people to their deaths without knowing the situation. Thus, New Kuan thought of a sinister move. He issued a bounty and gathered people who were willing to die for money. If these people solved the demon disaster, it would naturally be a good thing. Otherwise, it would definitely be an extremely powerful monster, and Nu Kuan would have to take action. But before that, through the probing of those bounty posters, Nu Kuan would hide behind the scenes and gather information about the monsters. Then, he would make targeted battle plans. Thus, while solving the demon disaster, he would also reduce his own casualties to the greatest extent. So it was like this. Shunlian was speechless for a while. He was glad that he did not rashly accept those bounty missions. So every bounty mission was a scam. So shameless, but there was nothing wrong with Nu Kuan's actions. The bounty missions were not deceiving people. They specifically stated that there would be danger to their lives. Those who saw the words danger to their lives, but still accepted the mission, naturally had to be prepared to sacrifice themselves at any time. After understanding the situation, Shan Lian started to talk about proper matters and handed over the 2 brocade boxes. Silver rank 3 blazing fire goo. Silver rank 1 quench fire goo. These 2 goo have extraordinary value. Qian Sheng indeed had some ability and recognized the 2 goo at a glance. Elder Shun, do you want to directly exchange for some items, or convert them into mission points and use them for other purposes in the future? Do you have the virtuous wife help goo here? Shen Lian asked expectantly. Virtuous wife help goo, I should have it. I remember a few days ago, when I checked the inventory, there was a record of the virtuous wife help goo on it. Please wait for a moment. I will go and get the inventory list. Saying so, Qian Sheng hurriedly left. After a while, he returned with a smile and a brocade box in his hand. Reporting to Elder Shun, there is 1 virtuous wife help goo that you want. Qian Sheng wiped his sweat. To not let Shen Lian wait for too long, he even used his 40 years of bachelor hand speed. Shen Lian was overjoyed. Tiger guts goo, whale breath goo, withered glory goo. Do you have them here? Qian Sheng hurriedly opened the inventory and said, there is only 1 withered glory goo. Tiger guts goo and whale breath goo are rather rare. I am afraid you will have to order them from the goo garden. I can help you to order them. Let's exchange first. I will go and order them myself. Shen Lian was not disappointed. Instead, he showed a pleasantly surprised expression. In the end, Shen Lian used 2 goo to exchange for 2 goo. After considering the difference in grade, rarity, and other factors, he still had a lot of surplus and exchanged them all for primordial water. Qian Sheng handed over a jade bottle and said, there is 2/3 of the primordial water inside. Please check it. Shen Lian received the jade bottle and shook it. There was a crashing sound, and he curiously asked, is the primordial water quantified by portions? How much does 1 portion represent? Qian Sheng thought for a few seconds and said, according to my understanding, different primordial water rivers have different colors, concentration, and purity. The quantification of primordial water is one of the secrets of aristocratic families and sections. Our clan's primordial water is all bestowed by Family Lin. They use this kind of jade bottle to store it and call it a portion of primordial water, so we followed suit. Shen Lian was speechless. Qian Sheng was also slightly embarrassed. He wanted to leave a good impression on Shen Lian, so he told him everything he knew. The primordial water produced by the primordial water river is known as natural primeval essence. It can be directly consumed by goo masters and absorbed into their aperture, turning into their own primeval essence. Other than that, the primordial water has a very hidden benefit. Oh, Shen Lian turned his head with interest. Qian Sheng lowered his voice. I often come into contact with the people who deliver the primordial water from Family Lin. I occasionally hear them mention that the effects of the primordial water are subtle. Some goo masters consume the primordial water for a long time and find that their talent is slowly increasing, as if the effect is similar to the innate talent goo. Also, some goo masters soak their goo in the primordial water and find that as time passes, the goo will evolve and even mutate into other goo. There is actually such a thing. Shen Lian was slightly shocked, thinking to himself, could it be that the primordial water has a radiation effect, or some kind of chemical inducing agent? However, he quickly threw away this doubt. There was no other reason other than the fact that he had too little primordial water on hand and did not have any extra to test it out. He could only leave it for later. Leaving the accounting room, he went to the fourth floor. The fourth floor was the office area of the 8 elders. The room was very spacious and was divided into several sections, integrating office, entertainment, and accommodation. It was extremely luxurious. Of course, some elders had their own families and mansions, so they only worked here and occasionally stayed overnight. Shun Lian left his hometown. His situation was different from the other elders. After he sold the house in the west of the city, he moved in with Bailing. It could be said that he treated the new Kuan Association as his home. Chapter 71. In the corridor, Shun Lian, who had returned to the fourth floor, was walking towards his office. He bumped into Liang Qizhu and Bu Linkong, who had just walked out of one of the rooms. The two of them were talking and laughing, and they seemed to be in good mood. These two were senior elders, even older than Bian Chanyu. They were low-key and had good relations with people in the faction, so they were able to get benefits from both sides. When Xiao Youqing's ambitions had swelled, Gong Sun Ji and the other 2 elders had changed their minds and sided with Xiao Youqing. However, Liang Qizhu and Bu Linkong did not. They seemed to be more patient, and they were able to keep their composure. They did not move and remain neutral. During Xiao Youqing's fall from power, Liang Qizhu and Bu Linkong's patience finally paid off. Not only were they not affected, but they were also praised by Man Boyu, and their status was elevated. Elder Liang, Elder Bu, Shun Lian smiled warmly and greeted them first. Liang Qizhu and Bu Linkong saw Shun Lian almost at the same time. They quickly walked over, cupped their hands, and laughed. Congratulations, Elder Shun, on your promotion. There was naturally a reason for their enthusiasm. That day when Shun Lian displayed his invincible might and defeated Xiao Youqing, the two of them were also present. They watched from the beginning to the end and remained silent. They stayed out of the matter and did not help anyone. Their neutrality was tantamount to drawing a clear line. Now that the situation was settled, there was no more internal strife. Everyone was on the same floor, so it was necessary for both sides to have a good relationship. I am counting on the faction leader's trust and everyone's support. Shun Lian smiled modestly. He was a completely different person from the arrogant, domineering, and insufferably arrogant person from that day. I am new here, and there are many things I don't understand. I earnestly hope that the 2 elders can enlighten me and enlighten me. You flatter me. You and I are of the same level, so it's better for us to be friends of the same generation. Liang Qizhu hurriedly waved his hand and laughed heartily. After all, he had witnessed Shun Lian's arrogance and overbearingness with his own eyes. Seeing Shun Lian's humble attitude now, anyone would feel a great sense of respect. Bu Linkong also said with a smile, Elder Shun is young and promising. He is the new blood of our clan. In the future, we will have many things to cooperate with each other. It is only right that we help each other. Shun Lian smiled. There was no need to say too much. It was enough to get the point across. Just as he was about to leave, he suddenly realized that Bu Linkong was giving him a meaningful glance. Oh! Shun Lian narrowed his eyes slightly and said calmly with a smile, Are you 2 free? Come to my place and have a cup of tea. Bu Linkong said, Thank you for the invitation, Elder Shun. Unfortunately, I have some urgent matters to attend to. Let's meet again next time. Liang Qizhu also shook his head. I have a demon disaster at my place. It is very troublesome. Sorry, let's meet again next time. It's my treat. Okay, let's meet again when we are free. Shun Lian didn't mind. He cupped his hands and left. He walked very slowly and stopped when he reached the corner. After a while, Bu Linkong and Liang Qizhu parted ways. They walked over and met again with Shun Lian. Elder Bu seems to have something to say to me. Shun Lian smiled faintly. Bu Linkong's expression became serious. He lowered his voice and said, Elder Shun, there is something I want to tell you. Oh, I would like to hear the details. Bu Linkong looked around. When he saw that no one was passing by, he said, Xiao Youqing's achievements weren't due to his own abilities. There was someone else who helped him. This person is extremely intelligent, ruthless, and unscrupulous. He is also very vengeful and will seek revenge. He will not give up until he reaches his goal. Now, this person has become a fish that has escaped the net. He is like a poisonous snake in hiding, waiting for an opportunity to strike. He is extremely dangerous. Please be careful. But Kong didn't specify who the so-called expert was. He cupped his hands and left quickly. Expert? Shunlian was surprised. His eyebrows were knitted into a knot. Chao Yoqing's wings have basically been cut off. If there is a fish that has escaped the net, it seems to be his son, Chao Cheng. When he thought of this, his heart couldn't help but thump. That day, when I provoked the four elders, Chao Yuqing was the first to jump out and fight back. It can be seen that he is impatient and has low IQ and EQ. It is difficult for such a person to achieve great things. I have seen Chao Cheng. He is shockingly talented and is indeed a dangerous person. Bu Kong is old and shrewd. He has been a new Kuan for many years and has sharp eyes. He should be very accurate in judging people and matters. There is also another possibility. Bu Kong has received some news recently. Shunlian thought as he walked. That pair of disdainful eyes flashed in his mind. Young master. Unknowingly, Shunlian arrived at the door. Bai Ling stood at the door and welcomed him. Li Su and Wu Yinzong are here. They are waiting inside. Shunlian nodded. He entered the room and saw Li Su and Wu Yinzong. New Kuan triads, 8 elders, each had around 50 resident Gu masters under them. Their strength varied, with some being bronze rank and a few being silver rank. In addition, there were 1,000 martial masters. Most were second-rate experts, while some were first-rate experts. Li Su and Wu Yinzong were the left and right hands of the previous elder. When there were no elders, they were in charge of many affairs. Now, they had become Shunlian's left and right hands. But at this moment, their feelings were completely different. It was written all over their faces. Li Su was very easygoing and cautious. He didn't seem to have many friends, but he also seemed to get along well with everyone. At first glance, he was very unremarkable and even a little too ordinary. Wu Yinzong's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. He felt uneasy. He felt that he was very unfortunate and unlucky. Previously, he was certain that Chao Cheng would be the next elder. Thus, he got in touch with Chao Cheng early on and became his lackey. He even thought that he was smart and gave his sister to Chao Cheng as a concubine. The result was a bolt from the blue. Wu Yinzong's heart was like a dog. He was very afraid of being implicated and couldn't sleep for several days. He had dark circles under his eyes and looked extremely haggard. Most importantly, he was Chao Cheng's brother-in-law. He couldn't clear his name, even if he wanted to. Wu Yinzong couldn't sit still. Looking at the calm Li Su opposite him, he couldn't help but reflect on himself. At that time, everyone thought that Chao Cheng would be promoted and went to pay their respects. Only Li Su didn't go and only did his job well. Everyone spread rumors that Chao Cheng was very dissatisfied with Li Su. The first thing he did after taking office was to demote Li Su. But Li Su still didn't change. Shunlian walked in. Wu Yinzong knew that the moment to decide his fate had finally arrived. Subordinates pay respects to Elder Shun. Li Su and Wu Yinzong quickly stood up and bowed respectfully. Sit down. Shunlian walked behind the desk and sat down. Li Su and Wu Yinzong waited for him to sit down before slowly sitting down. Shunlian smiled warmly and said, I heard that the two of you worked tirelessly and conscientiously to solve many demon disasters during the time when the elder position was vacant. You made great contributions. To serve gang leader and share elders' worries. We'll do anything. Li Su and Wu Yinzong were in fear and trepidation. They quickly stood up and bowed their heads as they shouted. Don't be so formal. Sit down and talk. Shunlian smiled. What's the situation in the territory I'm in charge of? Can anyone tell me a thing or two about it? Li Su and Wu Yinzong looked at each other. Wu Yinzong was afraid of saying the wrong thing, so he immediately lowered his head. Seeing this, Li Su coughed softly and said loudly, Elder Shun, the overall situation in the territory is good. There are demon disasters in 7 places, and we're trying our best to solve them. There are also 2 suspected demon disasters that are being investigated with rewards. However, if you have something to say, just say it. It doesn't matter if you say something wrong. Shun Lian didn't like people who hesitated. Li Su took a deep breath and said, according to the previous pattern, in the next 1 to 2 months, it will be the feeding period of the wind demon. At that time, the wind demon will definitely come out to cause trouble. Wind demon. Shun Lian's eyes became cold and serious. This demon is very terrifying. It's good at controlling the wind. It comes and goes without a trace. When a gust of wind blows, living people will turn into bones without flesh and blood. Therefore, everyone calls it the wind demon. The wind demon comes out to eat once every 9 years. It's been exactly 9 years since the last time the wind demon ate. When Li Su mentioned the wind demon, a trace of unconcealable fear flashed in the depths of his eyes. He said with a dignified expression. Shun Lian narrowed his eyes and said, no one can kill the wind demon. Li Su nodded and sighed. The wind demon has been causing trouble for hundreds of years. We organized a large number of people to besiege it many times, but it left the ground full of bones and left arrogantly. Later, no one dared to provoke the wind demon. They let the wind demon cause trouble once every 9 years. It only showed up afterwards to clean up the mess. Chapter 72. What a wind demon! Shun Lian grinned and ordered Li Su, you should pay close attention to the wind demon's movements. Report to me immediately if there is any situation. Yes, Li Su replied in a deep voice. Is there anything else? Shun Lian's eyes flashed, and he looked at Li Su. No, I'll take my leave. Li Su was indeed astute. He instantly noticed that Shun Lian's eyes had a different meaning. His eyelids twitched, and he immediately understood. He got up and stepped back. Only then did Shun Lian look at Wu Yanzong. Plop! Wu Yanzong knelt on the ground very straightforwardly. Elder, I'm guilty. I deserve to die. Wu Yanzong's body trembled. His voice was choked with sobs, and his expression was full of grievance. Shun Lian leaned back in his chair, squinted at him, and said playfully, oh, what's your crime? Elder, Chao Cheng is arrogant and overbearing. He has long had the ambition to occupy the position of elder. He formed gangs and factions everywhere to expand his power. Anyone who disobeyed him would be attacked and retaliated. In order to make this subordinate submit to him, Chao Cheng threatened to exterminate this subordinate's entire family and took advantage of this subordinate's absence to sully my younger sister. In order to protect my younger sister's reputation in life, this subordinate had no choice but to compromise and marry my younger sister to him. Others thought that I had become relatives with Chao Cheng and had a good life from then on, but they didn't know that I was in deep trouble until now. Wu Yanzong raised his head and looked at Shun Lian with tears streaming down his face. It was not until Elder Shun defeated Chao Yuqing and the Chao family fell that I was relieved of a heavy burden and saw the light of day again. Speaking of which, Elder Shun, you are my savior and the second parent of my whole family. Speaking of this, Wu Yanzong was choked with sobs. My crime is that I shouldn't compromise and bow to evil. Shun Lian was speechless. After a long while, he sighed. I didn't expect there to be such a secret. It seems that Chao Cheng has done you a lot. Bai Ling, who was standing aside, squinted and wanted to say something, but stopped on second thought. So you're fooled. Wu Yanzong was overjoyed when he heard this, and his crying immediately became more miserable. His performance was slightly exaggerated, and he scolded Chao Cheng for being despicable, shameless, wretched, vulgar, and doing all kinds of evil. Shun Lian listened to his words until Wu Yanzong ran out of words. If it wasn't for the fact that he had gone missing, this elder would really want to avenge you. Alas, what a pity. This is a great merit. I also wanted to capture Chao Cheng to prove my innocence. Unfortunately, Chao Cheng is very cunning. I don't know where he is hiding. Wu Yanzong wiped his tears and said regretfully. Shun Lian thought for a while and said, I have a plan. Maybe it can help you capture Chao Cheng and get this great merit. Wu Yanzong's eyes lit up. Elder Shun, please enlighten me. The trick of injuring oneself to gain the enemy's confidence. Shun Lian said seriously, you and I will put on a show. I will pretend to punish you severely, and then release the news to make everyone mistakenly think that you were implicated by Chao Cheng and convicted. In this way, when Chao Cheng hears the news, he will definitely take the initiative to contact you and rope you in. In this way, you can lock on Chao Cheng's location and report it to me to take him down in one fell swoop. What do you think? Will this work? Wu Yinzong was a little hesitant. He knew Chao Cheng, and it was not too much to praise him for being so smart that he was like a demon. He felt that Chao Cheng would not be fooled so easily. I think it will work, Shun Lian insisted. As long as you put on a good show, you can fool anyone. I believe in your acting skills. Of course, if you put on a show, you have to put on a full show and make it realistic. You see, should I break one of your legs or both? Is it more realistic? Break my legs? Wu Yinzong's hair stood on end. His face was full of horror. I am incompetent. In fact, Chao Cheng has long distrusted me. I'm afraid this trick won't work. Shun Lian's face darkened. You mean my plan is stupid? Wu Yinzong's breathing stagnated, and his tongue was tied. Shun Lian shook his head and sighed. This is the opportunity one gave you. Since you don't want to take it, then forget it. Wu Yinzong had a bad feeling. He quickly said, for the sake of Elder's plan, I am willing to give it a try. Good. I really didn't misjudge you. Shun Lian quickly stopped smiling and shouted in a deep voice, Guards! Immediately, four martial artists walked in quickly. Wu Yinzong and Chao Cheng colluded together. Drag him out and beat him until his legs are broken. Then expel him from New Kuan and never hire him again. Yes. The four fierce martial artists swarmed up to Wu Yinzong and dragged him out. Bai Ling looked at him with disdain and said, This idiot thinks he is infallible. He actually wants to fool young master. He is simply courting death. Shun Lian chuckled. Make the best use of things and people. This person has a glib tongue and thinks he can deceive everyone. I will beat him at his own game and let him perform until the end. I hope it will bring me some surprises. Young master is so evil. Bai Ling covered her mouth and chuckled. She handed over a letter. Shun Lian took it and looked at it. There were only a few words on the envelope. To elder brother Shun. The handwriting was beautiful and there was a faint fragrance. Who is this from? Shun Lian tilted his head and looked at Bai Ling, someone who cares about young master. Bai Ling's face was slightly red and her expression was a little ambiguous. Shun Lian immediately guessed whose letter it was. He opened the letter and saw that it was indeed from Hua Meifei. It was a farewell letter. The attack on the painting boat caused too much of a commotion. After Hua Meifei's family learned about it, they were very frightened. They were afraid that Wan Yong would take revenge, so they hurriedly sent Hua Meifei out of Ronghua City to the Central Plains to seek refuge with relatives and friends. Hua Meifei left in such a hurry that she didn't even have time to say goodbye to Shun Lian. Only then did she leave a letter. I miss you so much that I can't sleep. I'm looking forward to the day when we meet again and dance together. In the last line of the letter, there was a strong sense of love between the lines. Rendered on the paper, it was very explicit and very bold. Shun Lian looked at the letter for a long time before he put it away. In the prison, the light was dim. Chao Yuqing was lying in a pile of moldy weeds. She was wearing a prison uniform, and her hair was disheveled. In just a few days, she had fallen from the pedestal of limitless glory to the bottom. She was in prison and looked like she had aged 20 to 30 years. Suddenly, footsteps approached and stopped outside the prison door. Chao Yuqing looked up and squinted her eyes. Her eyes suddenly widened. Father, the person standing outside the prison door in a cloak was Chao Cheng. Chinner, why are you here? It's too dangerous. Leave quickly. Chao Yuqing was shocked. Chao Cheng was the last son of the Chao family. He couldn't be lost. Father, don't worry. I've already dealt with those guards. You and I can talk freely. I can even get you out of here now. Chao Cheng lifted his cloak and revealed a pair of silver eyes. In the darkness, they flashed with a terrifying light. Chinner your eyes. Chao Yuqing looked at his eyes and felt a chill as if she was in an ice cellar. I went to the Central Plains this time with great luck and finally evolved disdain Gu to silver rank. Not only is my eye strength stronger than before, I also obtain a new ability. but I didn't expect such a huge change in my family. When I returned to Ronghua City, everything was already settled and there was no way to save it. Chapter 73. Silver-level disdain Gu. After being stunned for a few seconds, Chao Yuqing immediately became excited and overjoyed. At such a close distance, he had a deep understanding of the power of that pair of silver pupils. It made people shudder with fear and despair, as if that pair of silver pupils was hiding something terrifying. Good, good. As expected of my son, Chao Yuqing. Chao Yuqing revealed a sinister expression. Originally, his heart was like dead ashes, but now that hope was reignited, he regained his spirit and spoke tirelessly. When he mentioned Shun Lian, Man Boyu, and Kong Yu, his eyes were burning with hatred, and he was about to grind his teeth to pieces. Actually, there was not much to talk about. He was defeated. Everyone kicks a man who is down. He suffered a crushing defeat and was consigned to eternal damnation. Father is filled with regret. I should have joined forces with Gong Sun Ji and the others to kill that old bastard Man Boyu. Chao Yuqing's face was filled with killing intent. He clenched his fists tightly. His dirty fingernails were deeply embedded into his flesh. That is to say, this person called Shun Lian first killed the Xie Yao and then defeated you in one day. He appeared out of nowhere like this, and before that, no one even knew of his existence. Chao Cheng's eyes flickered. He was in deep disbelief. Cheng, you think there's a problem with this? Chao Yuqing asked suspiciously. There is too much of a problem. Chao Cheng rubbed his chin. I have never believed in such a bizarre story like so-and-so appeared out of nowhere. A person's strength does not come out of nowhere. They need time to grow. They need financial and material resources to nurture. They need teachers to nurture them. They also need to have a certain amount of talent and luck. I heard this Shen Lian came from a small city in the north. How can a person from a small city grow to such a terrifying extent? Chao Yuqing followed his son's train of thought. The more he thought, the more he felt something was wrong. He could not help but be speechless. Strange. Chao Cheng muttered. We know too little about this Shun Lian. We only know that he has boundless strength and outstanding sword skills. We speculate that he has a martial-type Gu. We know nothing else. Chao Yuqing said nervously. What do you want to do? Kill him? It's useless. Killing him won't change anything. Nu Kuan no longer has a place for us father and son. If my disdain Gu had not evolved to silver rank, I would have escaped far away after saving my father, seeking another development in the Central Plains, and one day, I would come back and kill them all. Chao Cheng smiled evilly. Cold light shot out from his silver eyes, forming circles of light that spread out, giving people a strange and unpredictable feeling. Chao Yuqing's breathing stagnated. Chener, what are you trying to do? Chao Cheng squinted his eyes and said coldly, I want to drive Shun Lian mad and control him to kill Man Boyu, Kong Yu, Su Fu, and the other elders who oppose us. Then I will come out and kill Shun Lian to clean up the mess. I will be the savior and regain the power. Is this possible? Chao Yuqing's eyes widened as she listened. Her face was filled with disbelief. How confident are you? Chao Cheng's gaze suddenly flashed, and he said indifferently, Father, grab a bunch of rotten grass and eat it. What? Chao Yuqing was stunned. In the next second, his pupils dilated as he grabbed the rotten grass beside him and stuffed it into his mouth. Stop! Just as it was about to reach his mouth, Chao Cheng suddenly shouted. Chao Yuqing woke up with a start and looked at the rotten grass beside his mouth. He was terrified and quickly threw it away. Chenna, what did you do to father? Chao Yuqing's scalp went numb. Thinking back to that moment, he felt like he was no longer himself and was completely possessed. He only wanted to do as Chao Cheng said. This is the ability of disdain divine eyes. The current me can order anyone to do anything. As long as my rank is higher than that person, even if I want him to kill his father and commit adultery, he can do it with just a word. Chao Cheng grinned, as if a demon was grinning maliciously. Gulp. Chao Yuqing's hair stood on end as he swallowed his saliva. This strange disdain divine eyes, even though they were father and son, made him extremely terrified and couldn't help but tremble. This was not divine eyes, it was demonic eyes. With this pair of disdain divine eyes, nothing is impossible. There's only one problem now. Shunlian is a silver rank Gu master while I am still bronze rank 9. I need to advance to silver rank. At the same rank, as long as the difference is within 3 ranks, disdain divine eyes will be able to completely control the other party, and this plan will succeed. Chao Yuqing understood. You need the innate Gu. Yes, I only need one person support now, and take back New Kuan. Then I can succeed. Chao Cheng said decisively. Who? Wan Yin, Wan Sanyi's daughter? Chao Yuqing's expression changed. Wan Sanyi has many hidden dragons and crouching tigers. I don't have a chance to make a move on him. Wan Yin is my only choice. Chao Cheng retracted his gaze and said deeply, Wan Yin can indeed get the innate Gu for you, but you have to be careful. She is not easy to deal with. Chao Yuqing thought of something and couldn't help but remind him. Chao Yuqing nodded. I will have to trouble father to stay here and suffer for some time. After I kill my enemies, we will meet again. Okay, you can go. Chao Yuqing calmly left. The guards he met along the way were all bewitched, and none of them stopped him, allowing him to go in and out freely. I need to quickly find Wan Yin and get the innate Gu. I also need to understand Shun Lian's background. Chao Cheng left the prison and entered a carriage, slowly closing his eyes. To think that Huang Meifei is so devoted to me. Shun Lian sighed and kept her letter. The ripples in his heart only calmed down after a long time. We will meet again if fate wills it. Soon, Shun Lian calmed down completely and his gaze was firm. Everyone has their own path to walk. My path is to survive in this dangerous and unpredictable world and protect the people I want to protect. For this, I need to become stronger and continue to become stronger. Thinking of this, Shun Lian no longer had any distracting thoughts and started to think of his next plan. Even though I am an elder of New Kuan, the innate Gu is only given out once every half a year. It cannot satisfy my needs. If that is the case, gathering a set of body fusion type Gu is still the main way to solve the problem of innate talent. Dragon Heart Gu and Strong Root Gu have already been refined, and the Withering Glory Gu is already in my hands. I still lack Tiger Guts Gu and Whale Breath Gu. Counting the days, the deadline for the Gu Garden is almost up. I hope that old man who sold me the Dragon Heart Gu will not disappoint me. With sufficient bewilderment points, raising one's innate talent was the most important thing. Fortunately, Shun Lian had already found a solution. Moreover, while raising his innate talent, his physique was also strengthened greatly and his battle strength continued to rise sharply. His strong body was faintly becoming his greatest trump card when fighting against demons. Raising both innate talent and strength at the same time, where could one find such a good thing? Chapter 74. In a situation where talent is not restricted, you should prioritize evolving Grandmaster Gu. A tyrannical body and peerless martial path represents the power to shake the heavens. Man Bo Yu's guidance was barely satisfactory, especially regarding the evolution path of Grandmaster Gu. It was very clear and gave him a flash of insight. The path of Sword Saint focuses on the sword path. This path is one man and one sword, with no distractions. Walking the path of the sword without any distractions, the man also becomes demonic and has to give up everything else, otherwise it will be hard to achieve anything. I am not a sword maniac. This path is not suitable for me. Sword maniac only had the sword in his heart. He lived for the sword. Walking on this path, he had to give up the other Gu in his body, leaving only the sword Saint Gu behind to reach the realm of man and sword as one, breaking through all methods with one sword. Shun Lian could not give up the life twister Gu. This meant he could not walk on the path of Sword Saint. The path of Martial Saint, on the other hand, was to develop the martial path in all aspects. Using the martial path to prove one's Tao, this was undoubtedly more suitable for him. Moreover, he was greatly moved by the military strategy Gu. Although the path of military strategy was extremely difficult, he did not have such a foundation now, but that did not mean he would not have it in the future. Right now, I have to find the martial scholar goo and refine it with the grandmaster goo into the martial ancestor goo to increase my battle strength. In the future, when I have the opportunity and conditions, I will refine the 100 clan goo and strategist goo until I refine the awesome military strategy goo. In short, I will walk on the path of martial saint, and depending on the situation, I will walk on the path of military strategy. After deciding on the general direction, Shun Lian let out a breath of turbid air. He took out 3 brocade boxes and placed them in front of him. Inside were the Dodge goo, withered glory goo, and virtuous wife help goo. Shun Lian's gaze flashed. He took out a silver needle and pricked his finger, first feeding the withered glory goo with his blood. This goo was shaped like a sorrel grass. It had palm-shaped compound leaves with 3 small leaves. It was inverted heart-shaped and had soft hairs all over its body. Its luster was as fine as a pearl, giving off a mystical and beautiful feeling. The withered glory goo has fused with the liver. There is a risk of it eating the liver. I have to be careful. After feeding it with his blood, Shun Lian did not dare to be careless. He immediately summoned the life twister goo and displayed its might. After completely taming the withered glory goo, he allowed it to enter his body. Not long after, a numbing sensation came from his abdomen. It was so strong that he couldn't help but tremble. This electric shock lasted for half an hour before it stopped. Then, the interface flashed, and the information was updated. Withered glory goo, white rank, special effect, conserve energy, immunity to poison. Fusion progress is 5%. When the fusion progress reaches 10%, 3 bewitchment points will be consumed to evolve the withered glory goo by 1 level. Shun Lian's eyes narrowed. There were 2 things that made his eyes light up. Poison immunity, this is a good special effect. The liver, one of the 5 internal organs, is the largest digestive gland in the human or animal body. It has the functions of synthesizing and storing nutrients, secreting bile, detoxifying, and so on. Withering glory goo's ability to conserve energy and immunity to poison was within reason. However, for the time being, it was still impossible to determine the extent to which the poison immunity effect would provide immunity to poison. In addition, there were many types of poisons, poisonous snakes, and other creatures, as well as monsters, such as the mandrill. These poison sources were all fatal. It was hard to determine whether the withered glory goo had immunity to all of them. After all, Shun Lian wasn't Shinon. He wouldn't court death by testing poison with his own body. The fusion progress has reached 5%. Shun Lian remembered that the dragon heart goo and strong root goo had a starting point of 1%, but the withered glory goo had a higher starting point. The reason for this was, my body seems to have become easier to fuse with. Shun Lian guessed that as his body gradually strengthened, some aspects had undergone a transformation, becoming more compatible with the goo. Only humans can raise goo, refine goo, and use goo. But transcendent goo masters seem to have strengthened this affinity. Shun Lian faintly felt that in this world where there were tens of thousands of races, only humans had an affinity with goo. It was really inconceivable. There might be a shocking secret hidden within. Temporarily throwing away his doubts, Shun Lian opened the second brocade box. He saw a lightning-shaped goo, twisting and turning. It was the evasion goo taken from Chao Yuqing. She life goo, it's up to you now. The evasion goo was a second-hand goo and was harder to refine. Shun Lian skillfully summoned the She life goo to deal with it. Life-twisting goo appeared and simply waved its hand in a domineering manner. Dodge goo shuddered and twisted into a fried dough twist in fright. Very quickly, an amiable thought was transmitted into Shun Lian's mind. Refinement successful. Shun Lian's brows raised in joy and immediately kept the evasion goo into his body. After the evasion goo entered, it quickly moved, passing through the chest and into the right leg, finally stopping at the center of the right foot. It chose an aperture there and opened an aperture. Immediately, the interface lit up and the information changed. Evasion goo, bronze rank 6, special effect, 10-meter cruise, consume 100 points of confusion to evolve evasion goo by 1 level. Do you want to evolve? Great, it's actually bronze rank 6. Shun Lian pondered. Chao Yuqing could only use evasion twice, so using the 10-meter cruise special effect once would consume 30% of his bronze rank primeval essence. According to this consumption, even bronze rank 10 can only dodge 3 times. The consumption is indeed huge. However, the evasion goo could allow one to cruise freely within a 10-meter radius. If this special effect was used to attack enemies, it would definitely raise one's battle strength to another level. Especially for a close combat expert like Shun Lian, it was very beneficial. I won't evolve the evasion goo for now. Shun Lian thought for a while, and still stuck to his original plan. He used the confusion points to raise his talent and evolve the Grandmaster goo, working hard to raise his goo master rank. At this time, the evasion goo, which had opened its 3rd aperture, started to refine primeval essence from its body. The milk cow goo also came to visit its new neighbor, enthusiastically helping to refine primeval essence. The familiar feeling of hunger attacked him like a tide. Shun Lian took out the jade bottle of primeval water and poured a cup. According to his estimation, this cup of primeval water was equivalent to 4 to 5 jars of 10 complete nourishment wine. He drank it in one gulp. Suddenly, the surging natural primeval essence spread out like boiling water, washing through his limbs and bones. A cloud whirlpool formed at the center of his right foot. The evasion goo and milk cow goo cooperated with each other, crazily refining the surging natural primeval essence. Drops of green copper primeval essence fell like rain to the bottom of the aperture, and the liquid world continued to surge upwards. This was not the end. Shun Lian felt waves of numbness coming from his abdomen like an electric shock. He was too familiar with this feeling. It was the body fusion type, goo rapidly fusing with his body. Don't tell me, Shun Lian thought of something and quickly looked at the interface. He saw the withering glory goo's fusion rate was continuously rising, 6%, 7%, 8%. Dragon heart goo and strong root goo were also the same, but the fusion rate was much slower. Primeval water also has the effect of promoting fusion. Shun Lian was stunned for a while, before becoming overjoyed. Qian Sheng's information should be correct. The primeval water's effect is not only to replenish primeval essence. Maybe it was the effect of radiation, or maybe it was the effect of chemical mutation. The primeval water had some kind of stimulating effect on the body, or even strengthening the body at the cellular level. After drinking 2 cups of primeval water, the green copper primeval essence in the evasion goo's aperture steadily stopped at 60%. At the same time, the withering glory goo's fusion rate reached 10%. Fusion rate 10%. Using 3 bewilderment points, the withering glory guam can evolve by 1 level. Do you want to evolve? Fusion rate 10%. Using 10 bewilderment points, the withering glory guam can evolve by 2 levels. Do you want to evolve? The information on the interface changed, and the withering glory goo caught up, catching up to the dragon heart goo and strong root goo's pace. Chapter 75. Evolve the withered glory goo. Shun Lian's mood soared with joy. Along with a strong electric shock and numbness from his abdomen, the withered glory goo only used 10 bewitchment points to upgrade by 2 levels, successfully evolving to bronze rank 2. Withered glory goo, bronze rank 2, special effect. Fortify the foundation, invulnerable to poison, invulnerable to poison. Shun Lian raised his eyebrows, suddenly having the urge to grab a handful of red crane head and swallow it. According to the name, invulnerable to poison refers to being immune to most common poisons and poisonous creatures. But towards those highly toxic poisons, strange poisons, and the poisons released by demons, it might not be so effective. Even though he was overjoyed, Shun Lian did not lose his cool. There's still the 3rd goo. Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Shun Lian slowly opened the 3rd brocade box. What entered his eyes was a luminous pearl-shaped goo, perfectly round and translucent, shining with an enchanting luster. What a beautiful, luminous pearl. Yes, having a wife at home is like having a treasure. Shen Lian saw the virtuous wife goo for the first time, and this sentence suddenly popped up in his mind. Virtuous wife goo can be refined with milk cow goo into beautiful lady goo. Shen Lian was filled with anticipation, quickly feeding it with blood and once again summoning the life-twisting goo. Without any mishaps, the refinement was successful. Yes, milk cow goo is a support type. Without an aperture, the refinement has to be done outside the body. Of course, he could also let the virtuous wife goo enter the aperture to complete the refinement, but this was not safe. Because if the refinement of the two goo failed, there might be some abnormal situations like an explosion causing damage to the aperture. After pondering for a while, Shen Lian summoned the milk cow goo, placing the two goo on his palm. At this moment, a line of information appeared at the bottom of the interface. Gradually becoming clearer, frowny face consumed 500 bewitchment points to refine milk cow guam and virtuous wife goo into beautiful lady goo. Do you want to refine? Refine. Shen Lian's expression turned solemn, and as his thoughts flashed, a mysterious force seemed to cover his palm. Immediately, the milk cow goo that resembled a toad moved, swallowing the virtuous wife goo. Milk cow goo. It looked like an earth toad. Its skin was grayish-yellow, and its whole body was covered in bumps, looking extremely terrifying. After swallowing the virtuous wife, the milk cow goo's body swelled up. The lumps on its body also became bigger. With the passage of time, these lumps began to harden. His skin became as hard as stone, and his entire body stood still as if he had been petrified. After waiting for a day, at a certain moment, crack, 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 like the sound of glass shattering, the milk cow goo's surface started to crack. The fine cracks gradually expanded, and a layer of petrified skin fell off. Pooh! A pair of wings broke out of the shell, unfurling to its heart's content. Shen Lian narrowed his eyes. The extremely ugly milk cow goo's appearance changed. The ugly duckling turned into a swan. This new goo was like a mini red-beak lovesickness bird. Its beak was red, its upper body was bright green, and its eyes were pale yellow. Its ears were olive gray, and there were yellow and red wing spots on its wings. Its tail was black, and its back was orange-yellow. The feathers were gorgeous and dazzling. It was truly beautiful. Fusion successful. Delicate Lady Goo, Bronze Rank 1, Special Effect, Condensed Primeval Essence. This is the Delicate Lady Goo. Shen Lian's face was filled with curiosity. The delicate Lady Goo shook a few times. The soft and beautiful feathers on its body swelled up and fell flat, intimately rubbing against Shen Lian's fingers. Delicate Lady Goo. Shen Lian's lips curled up. He was overjoyed. This goo is Bronze Rank 1. To be used by me, I need to evolve it to Silver Rank first. Shen Lian was not in a hurry. With a thought, the delicate Lady Goo immediately flapped its wings and flew into his body, entering the Grandmaster Goo's aperture. Huff! He let out a breath of turbid air. Next, he turned his attention to the Grandmaster Goo and saw two messages on the interface. Grandmaster Goo, Silver Rank 1, Special Effect, Martial Moving Mountains and Rivers, Extreme Strengthening, Grandmaster of a Generation. Consume 1,000 bewilderment points to evolve the Grandmaster Guam by 1 level. Do you want to evolve? Consume 3,000 bewilderment points to evolve the Grandmaster Guam by 2 levels. Do you want to evolve? With one look, Shen Lian could not help but smile. After entering the silver rank, the consumption of bewilderment points has become even more ferocious. It is easily in the thousands. This was also the biggest reason why Shen Lian did not waste his bewilderment points recklessly. Forget it. Evolve the Grandmaster Goo. Shen Lian's eyes shined brightly. With a swoosh, the interface flashed with light. The Grandmaster Goo that resembled a woodman started to shake intensely, emitting colorful light. It was dazzling like a painting painted with thick ink. The colorful light coiled around the Grandmaster Goo's body, forming a thick layer of camouflage light film. Like a rainbow cocoon, it was mystical and beautiful. Several days later, with a burst of cracking sounds, the Grandmaster Goo broke out of its cocoon. Light shone in all directions. Its skin was like cold metal, shining brightly. It was cold and threatening. There were 3 silver stripes on its chest, emitting a vast and mighty aura, majestic and domineering. Grandmaster Goo, Silver Rank 3, Special Effect, Martial Moving Mountains and Rivers, Extreme Strengthening, Grandmaster of a Generation, Vast and Mighty Divine Might, Silver Rank 3, with an additional special effect. Shun Lian felt that this vast and mighty divine might special effect should be some kind of mental suppression. It was like a fierce tiger coming out of its cage. Before the tiger could hurt anyone, it could already scare them half to death. Rumble, a familiar feeling of hunger attacked him. After fusing with the withered glory goo, Shun Lian's talent rose again. He had a chance of advancing to Silver Rank 2. He quickly took out the primeval water jade bottle, pouring a cup and drinking it. The feeling of hunger subsided, but at this time, he noticed a problem. The Grandmaster Goo's Snow Silver Primeval Essence is too slow. Last time, the aperture had 100% green copper primeval essence. It could be directly converted into 10% Snow Silver Primeval Essence. This time, it was directly refined from the outside world. The slow efficiency immediately showed. If that's the case, let's evolve the charming Lady Goo. Shun Lian's gaze swept across, seeing 1,200 bewitchment points instantly decrease. Even though the charming Lady Goo had huge potential, evolving it to Silver Rank at once, the consumption of bewitchment points was also very high. Charming Lady Goo, Silver Rank 1, Special Effect, Condensed Primeval Essence, Extreme Purity inside the aperture. The Silver Rank Charming Lady Goo could be seen flapping its wings, like a forest elf singing a melodious ancient song. As it flapped its wings, a strange light burst out from the wings. The surging natural primeval essence was stirred up by the strange light and dripped down like rain, falling to the bottom of the aperture. It was all Snow Silver Primeval Essence. In the drizzle, the carriage stopped in front of a unique house. Chao Chung, who was wearing a cloak, came down from the carriage and walked to the door. "Who is it?" 4 guards in front of the door looked over. "Move aside," Chao Chung said lightly, and the 4 guards stopped on the spot, as if they were frozen in place. Chao Chung entered the house and walked towards the inner courtyard with ease, as if he had been here before and was very familiar with the surroundings. Chapter 76. Wanin. Chao Chung smiled disdainfully. His lips curled into a sinister arc as he pushed the door open. Clang! The bolt behind the door broke. All of a sudden, the messy and erotic scene in the room came rushing to his face, and he was able to take in everything. There was a bathtub in the middle of the room. Steam was rising and rippling. At this moment, there were more than 10 naked men and women in the bathtub. They were hugging and frolicking. The scene was extremely lewd. Huh? Chao Cheng's sudden intrusion silenced the entire room. He glanced over and saw an enchanting young woman in the middle of the bathtub. She had a voluptuous butt and a voluptuous body. On her left was a muscular man, and on her right was a gorgeous beauty. She was attractive to both men and women. This woman was none other than Wan Sanyi's daughter, Wanin. Everyone called her Princess in private. Yo, I was wondering who was so bold. So it's young Master Chao. Wanin stood up from the bathtub. The water wasn't very deep, reaching her thighs. Once she came out of the water, her voluptuous figure was exposed. It would make anyone who saw her feel hot. Phew, Chao Chung narrowed his eyes. He couldn't help but focus on Wan Yin's lower body. His breathing also became heavier. He stiffly turned his head and said in a low voice, "I want to talk to you alone." Wan Yin chuckled and sneered. "You're just a stray dog. What right do you have to talk to me alone?" Chao Cheng's eyes widened. His silver pupils shone with circles of light. He glanced back and forth and ordered, "Get lost." Everyone he looked at crawled out of the bathtub. Some ran out, while others rolled on the ground and rolled out of the room. Wan Yin looked at this scene in amazement. Her eyes flickered. She suddenly rubbed her chest and sighed. "This show of yours is quite interesting." "Oh, then do I have the right now?" Chao Chung stared at her. Wan Yin calmly met his gaze and said with a smile, "If you kowtow to me 3 times, I will reluctantly listen." Wan Yin, do you really think I don't dare to touch you? Chao Cheng's gaze became fierce. Wan Yin narrowed his eyes and sneered. You know some tricks, but so do I. Chao Cheng raised his chin and sneered. I know you have a mystical goo called 3000 Favor. This goo can make anyone die for you, love you madly, and even be willing to sacrifice everything for you, even die for you. There were 3000 beauties in his harem, and all of them doted on him. This mystical goo could allow its owner to completely capture people's hearts and drive them into servitude. However, there is a prerequisite to activating this goo's magical power. That is, the other party must kiss you. Therefore, your love has no effect on me at all. On the contrary, I can tell you to die at any time. Chao Cheng clasped his hands behind his back and smiled disdainfully. But Wan Yin chuckled when he heard this, and he was happy and fearless, causing Chao Cheng to be unable to help but frown. My father once taught me that the hardest thing to hide in the world is a secret. However, no matter how careful you are, your secret will be exposed one day. Thus, a secret cannot be hidden, and hiding is not the best way to protect a secret. Wan Yin chuckled. Instead of trying to hide a secret, why not reveal it and satisfy some people's curiosity? Of course, we will only let them know what they want to know. Let them stare at a tree and forget that we have a forest. Chao Cheng suddenly felt a sense of unease. Wan Yin's smile became even wider. To a goo master, what goo they have is the most important secret. The battle between goo masters is a competition of information. Chao Cheng, let me guess your purpose in coming here. Your Chao clan suffered a crushing defeat, but you did not leave and instead took the risk to come back. You must have something to rely on and think you could still win. How can you win? In a situation where everyone abandoned Chao clan, there's only one way to win, and that is to wipe out all of New Kuan's higher-ups and reshuffle the cards. And you went to the Central Plains a few days ago. You must have gained a lot. It should be because your disdain goo has evolved, allowing you to have the confidence to do this. But you have not done it yet. That means your strength is not enough. You need innate talent goo to advance. Without New Kuan support, there are only two people in Ronghua City who can help you get innate talent goo, my father and me. And you do not have the confidence to deal with my father, but you think I am a pushover, so you came here with great fanfare. Is that so? Chao Cheng's expression was gloomy. He did not speak. Let's talk about your disdain goo. It is amazing. It can actually give orders to others that cannot be disobeyed. However, you did not give orders to me. Why is that? It is not that you do not want to, but you know that even if you succeed in giving orders to me, you will not be able to get innate talent goo from me. Because the orders you give to others cannot be too complicated, and you should not be able to give multiple orders at the same time. The most important reason is that although you can give orders to others, you cannot control their actions. For example, just now when you said get lost, some people walked out, and some people actually started rolling on the ground. It can be seen that when others carry out your orders, due to different understandings, their actions will deviate from normal. If you give orders to me and make a slight mistake, my actions will be abnormal and it will be noticed by others. At that time, you'll have to pay a heavy price for it. Did I say anything wrong? Chao Cheng's breathing stagnated. He only looked at Wan Yin. The current situation is, you only know one part of my love, but I have already seen through you. Wan Yin placed one hand on her waist, smiling devilishly. Chao Cheng, cow to me 3 times, then get lost quickly before I change my mind. Chao Cheng fiercely clenched his fists. He was silent for a while, then suddenly raised his head and laughed loudly. Someone once asserted that among the younger generation, there are 2 smartest people in Ronghua City. One is me, and the other is you, Princess Wan Yin. Today, I have finally experienced it. Chao Cheng slowly took out a brocade box. Actually, I have never intended to harm you. I am here to cooperate with you. I have a gift in my hands that you cannot refuse. Oh, Wan Yin's gaze flashed past the brocade box. During my trip to Central Plains, I heard of a place called Passionless Valley. The unique environment gave birth to a kind of strange goo. It is called passionless flower, also known as passion flower poison. This goo can make people who are in love feel as if their hearts are being torn apart, they will feel unbearable pain. The deeper the love, the deeper the pain, and it will be a living hell. It can be said that the passionless flower is the nemesis of marriage, true love, goo-like loyalty goo. Chapter 77. At the center of the goo garden, on the third floor of the turret, Su Xiaoling lowered her head and slowly knelt on the ground. Su Xiaoling greets Wan San. Madam Wan, I am deeply grateful for your help in redeeming my freedom. Sitting in front of Su Xiaoling was the beautiful Lu Rui. Her abdomen was slightly swollen. Beside her was a white-haired, hale, and hearty old man, the famous richest man in the northern lands. Wan San's hair and beard were neatly combed. The corners were also trimmed nicely. He wore a blue brocade robe, making him look especially spirited. Although he was old, there were not many wrinkles on his face, and he was still hale and hearty. He had the unique charm of an old man like Zhuge Liang. Miss Su Xiaoling, please rise. Wan San had a pleasant expression as he gestured with his hand. Thank you, Wan San. Su Xiaoling slowly stood up, slightly nervous as she lowered her head and looked at her feet. Wan San sighed and said sincerely, It was my unfilial son's fault. You have been wronged. We helped you redeem your freedom because we feel guilty and want to compensate you to the best of our ability. The so-called unfilial son was naturally Wan Yong. Hearing this, Su Xiaoling could not help but recall what happened on the painting boat that day. Her eyelashes trembled, as if she still had lingering fears. Paper cannot contain fire. After the painting boat incident, the details of what happened on that day gradually spread, and everyone knew about it. Although Huang Meifei and the rest on the painting boat, including New Kuan's people, did not mention Wan Yong, Wan San was an extremely skilled person. He only needed to pay a little attention to know the inside story. After all, Wan Yong's retainers were all Wan San's people. He only needed to ask to know everything. You tried to defile Su Xiaoling and even summoned a chelating monster to harm people. When Wan San found out the truth, he was furious. He gave Wan Yong 50 beatings and locked him up for half a year to reflect on his mistakes. He was not allowed to leave the house. Sigh, I have a pair of children. Because their mother died early and I was busy with business, I neglected to discipline them. When they grew up, I couldn't discipline them even if I wanted to. Wan San sighed with a headache. His tone was filled with great disappointment and anxiety. San Lang, seeing this, Lu Rui, who was gently stroking her stomach, had a slight change in expression. She could not help but open her mouth to comfort her. She knew that Wan San wasn't as irresponsible as he claimed. In fact, Wan San was a good father who loved his children very much. Wan San was both talented and good-looking. Wan San had taught her wholeheartedly since she was young and even saw her as a successor. Wan San had originally intended to leave the Goo Garden to Wan Yin. Wan Yong might not have any shocking talent, but Wan San doted on him very much. He had never let him suffer from any grievances since he was young. However, Wan San waved his hand and shook his head slightly. He sighed. Life and death are up to fate. They chose their own paths. Fortune and misfortune will depend on their own luck. His eldest daughter, Wan San, was shockingly talented. Wan San had once held great expectations for her. However, he gradually realized that Wan Yin was too self-centered and seriously lacked empathy. She never thought about others and only had herself in her heart. She thought that the whole world and everyone else should revolve around her. In her, you have something you want. It's the same for others. They have their own desires. When you have a conflict with others because you both want something, what will you do? Wan San had once tested his daughter like this. In the end, Wan Yin answered confidently, What I want is naturally mine. But what if others want it too? No, father. When other people know that it's what I want, they will rush to give it to me. Why do you think they will do that? Because I am the most honorable. I am more honorable than a princess. And they're lowly, only fit to be my slaves. Wan San was speechless. After growing up, Wan Yin became even more stubborn. Wan San could not change her no matter how hard he tried. One day, Wan San heard that Wan Yin had refined a mystical goo, 3,000 love. He was completely disheartened. Goo would choose the most suitable goo master for itself. 3,000 love. Gu chose Wan Yin. This could only mean one thing. Wan Yin was sick to the core. As expected, the disheartened Wan Sanya indulged Wan Yin a little, and she went completely crazy. She became addicted to fooling around and became unrestrained, causing her reputation to be ruined. By now, Wan Sin no longer expected her to marry and take care of her husband and children. He simply let her go out and find her own path, living the life she wanted to live. Out of sight, out of mind. As for his youngest son, Wan Yong, he was still attached to him. This also allowed Wan Yong to brazenly use his name to cause trouble everywhere, abuse his power, and even commit atrocities. However, he just refused to change despite repeated warnings and refused to realize his error, causing him to simply be incurable. After the painting boat incident, Wan San was extremely disappointed. He finally made up his mind to let Wan Yong go out and live independently after half a year of confinement. In this life, Wan San had everything: wealth, reputation, status, true love. His biggest concern was his son and daughter. He hoped that they could be mature and live happily for the rest of their lives. He often thought of Wan Yong and Wan Yin when they were young. They were so cute, pure, and innocent. A kite or a cricket could make them laugh for an entire day, never getting tired of it. But unknowingly, they grew up and changed. They became unfamiliar to him, unfathomable, and insatiable. I'm getting old. I cannot wipe their buttocks for the rest of my life. Humans, if they don't learn how to wipe their own buttocks, they will stink to death sooner or later. It took a long time to describe, but these thoughts only flashed through Wan San's mind. Today's main point was not this. He called Su Shaoling over to ask her about a person, Shun Lian. Coincidentally, Lu Rui had a benefactor who was also called Shun Lian. So, one could imagine how curious Lu Rui was when she heard that the person who injured Wan Yong, killed the sea serpent, defeated Chao Yuqing, and was one of the 8 elders of New Kuan, was also called Shun Lian. Could this Shun Lian be her benefactor? And the people who appeared on the painting boat that day fled in fear of Wan Yong. Of the people who witnessed the whole process, only Su Shaoling was left in Ronghua City. You mean Brother Shen? At the mention of Shun Lian, Su Shaoling, who was originally nervous, suddenly became excited. Her eyes shone with admiration, and she began to describe him vividly. The image of an indomitable hero became three-dimensional under her description. After listening, Lu Rui was basically sure. She said excitedly, appearance, temperament basically match. He should be my benefactor. With this excitement, her delicate body suddenly trembled. Lu Rui hurriedly hugged her stomach and cried out in pain. What's wrong? Wan Sanyi was shocked, and his face turned pale. However, a happy smile appeared on Lu Rui's face. She said, San Lang, the child kicked me just now. Really? Chapter 78. In the training room, Shun Lian stood like a statue, his eyes shining as he stared at the few bronze men in front of him. After advancing to silver rank 2, Shun Lian started to temper his body again, polishing his sword skills to raise his talent. He knew that Overflow Rain Sword had a lot of room for improvement. Sword will, creation. Sword will was indescribably profound, like philosophy, like poetry. It could only be understood but not explained. My Overflow Rain Sword started with a sword flower. It became a rain of light, and finally a storm of pear blossoms. The most amazing part is that the sword light is like lightning. The sword chi shoots out in all directions like a storm, covering heaven and earth. The sword will is the speed, the power, and the intensity of the divine might, strengthening it to the point of breaking through the horizon. It is fast, fierce, and has peerless power. After reaching silver rank, I can finally create a form for the sword will, reaching the realm of turning illusion into reality. Shun Lian breathed in, activating a trace of snow, silver primeval essence. Chasing wind sword shook, creating a mysterious sword flower. That sword flower was crystal clear. Its whole body was snow silver, like an ice sculpture. This was creating a form for the sword will. The next moment, with a loud bang, the sword flower exploded. Puff, puff, puff. The rain of bullets shot towards the bronze men with a whirlwind force. The rain of bullets was also a form, carrying an explosive might. Under the attack, it was indeed unstoppable, destroying everything in its path. The tough bronze men were like tofu. Their bodies caved in and fragments flew everywhere. They caved in deeply. There were fragments all over the ground. Huff! Shun Lian breathed out, looking at the caved-in and fragments. Attack speed and power have greatly increased, but this is far from the limit. Overflow Rain Sword can still be raised to a higher rank. The problem is the creation. The bullet form I created cannot display the full power of Overflow Rain Sword. Shun Lian slowly closed his eyes, his thoughts churning like a tide, imagining all kinds of forms in his mind. Silver needles, bullets, cannonballs, missiles, battleships. Suddenly, the silver rank 3 Grandmaster Gu shook slightly. A bright light floated out and flew into his forehead. A sudden flash of inspiration. On Earth, whether it's bullets, artillery shells, missiles, or warships, these powerful weapons all have a common characteristic. They are streamlined and aerodynamic. Shun Lian's eyes were burning, and a vague sword intent form slowly formed in his mind. The strongest form of sword intent is naturally the sword. The sword itself is designed in the most aerodynamic way. That's why the sword is the king of all weapons, and only one sword can break everything. A sword that moves in a straight line, a sword that flies at high speed, is the most powerful form of attack. Flying sword. Shun Lian, who had a sudden epiphany, spun his body and raised his wind-chasing sword, pointing it forward. Then, there was a sword light that looked like a 3-inch sword and was as thin as a cicada's wing. It spun at high speed and charged forward like a bolt of lightning. CI. The momentum was unparalleled. The entire space was trembling. That 3-inch flying sword flashed and smashed into the chest of a bronze man, directly piercing through it. Then it smashed into the chest of another bronze man behind it, also piercing through it. Then there was the third bronze man. After piercing through 3 bronze men, the 3-inch flying sword collapsed and dissipated. The 3 bronze men that were lined up in a line did not fall, but at their chests there was a thigh-sized hole. Such a terrifying penetrative power caused Shun Lian to be stunned for a while before he became overjoyed. This 3-inch flying sword move is my strongest trump card. This was the true power of a perfect sword intent, which was not something that just anyone could achieve. Even though they were all silver rank Gu masters and had snow silver primeval essence, everyone's comprehension was different, and the type of Gu they had was different. The abilities they could use and the strength of their attacks were also different from person to person. I have the beautiful Lady Gu to purify snow silver primeval essence, the Grandmaster Gu to increase my battle strength, my deep comprehension of the Overflow Rain Sword, and my monstrous physique. I do not lose to anyone in any aspect. Shun Lian's lips curled up, showing strong confidence on his face. This 3-inch flying sword move has an attack range of about 6 meters. If it is used together with Dodge Gu, then I can instantly attack any target within 16 meters of me. Comprehension was not easy to come by, and inspiration flashed by. Shun Lian did not stop there, but continued to practice the sword move, increasing the power of this move, increasing his adaptability, and finding out the tricks to attack from different angles. Several days passed in the blink of an eye. Shun Lian persevered, and finally reached the realm of using the 3-inch flying sword in his heart. The moment he unsheathed the sword, he could release the 3-inch flying sword, fast and fierce. Counting the days, it is time to go to the Gu Garden and get the Tiger Guts Gu and Whale Breath Gu as soon as possible. Shun Lian came out of seclusion. He walked out of the training room and entered the office. Bai Ling had been waiting for a long time. "Young master, here, wipe your sweat." Bai Ling obediently passed over a warm towel. Shun Lian took the towel and sat down to apply it on his face. "Young master, Wan San sent an invitation card, inviting you to a banquet." Bai Ling suddenly said. "Wan San." Shunlian took the towel away, and his eyes flashed. "Young master, please take a look." Bailing handed over an invitation card with a golden border. On the cover of the invitation card, there were the words, "Dear Benefactor." Opening it, only one line of words entered his eyes. "Brushing away my clothes, hiding my identity and name." These 10 words were full of elegance. There was no lack of heaviness in the elegance, and there was strength in the nimbleness. The aura was connected, and the words were free and unrestrained. Void and white contrasted. Hardness and gentleness complemented each other, free and unrestrained, causing one to be stunned at glance. It can't be wrong. These are Lu Rui's words. In the entire Ronghua city, only she knows this poem. The person who invited him to the banquet should be Lu Rui. Evidently, his reputation had spread. It's time to meet Wan San. Shunlian pondered for a moment. Before meeting Wan San, he needed to know more about this person, so he went to ask Man Boyu. "Oh, Wan San invited you to a banquet?" Man Boyu took a look at the invitation card and couldn't help but be surprised. Logically speaking, Shunlian was an elder of New Kuan, so he should have sent an invitation card to New Kuan first, regardless of whether it was a business or a private matter. This way, it wouldn't cause any unnecessary misunderstandings. Otherwise, it would be easy for Shunlian to be accused of colluding with businessmen. Shunlian smiled, knowing that Wan Sanyi had misunderstood. He explained, "It wasn't Wan Sanyi who invited me. It was Madame Wan who invited me in the name of Wan Sanyi." "You are very close to Madame Wan?" Man Boyu was even more surprised, and his eyes widened. One had to know that Lu Rui used to be a geisha, so she had a lot of customers who were either rich or respectable. Man Boyu suddenly thought of something and looked at Shunlian with a shocked expression that said, "You don't have any ambiguous past with Lu Rui." Shunlian rolled his eyes and told him about how he had rescued Lu Rui. "So you were the one who rescued Lu Rui?" Man Boyu sat up straight when he heard this. When Madame Wan suddenly disappeared, Wan Sanyi also asked New Kuan to look for her. "We also spent a lot of effort to find her, but it was to no avail. In the end, we just left it as it was. You have to make good use of this great kindness." Man Boyu's eyes lit up as he said excitedly, "I have already repaid this kindness with 3 million yuan, Shunlian thought to himself. Looking at Man Boyu's excited expression, Shunlian was speechless. "Quickly tell me about Wan Sanyi's character." Wan Sanyi is a legend in the business world. You might not know, but he started from scratch. When he started his business, he was penniless, and even his capital was borrowed. Man Boyu was full of admiration when he mentioned Wan Sanyi. Wan Sanyi started out as a mink skin business, selling mink skins from the north to the Central Plains. By chance, he came into contact with a goo master and found a business opportunity, so he started to sell goo. At that time, the powerful Central Plains looked down on the world and tried their best to restrict the development of goo master forces in the north. They strictly prohibited the selling of goo from the Central Plains to the north. Whoever dared to violate the rules would be killed without mercy. Others sold goo secretly with their lives on the line, but Wan Sanyi was bold and skilled. Not only did he sell goo, he did it in a very high-profile manner. He even negotiated with the 9 great aristocratic families in the Central Plains, hoping that they would allow him to sell exclusively